Yeah.
We're live and talking computer problems.
Yeah, in the last few years, you'll notice that hard drive sizes have not grown. That's because Microsoft and Apple want you to subscribe to cloud storage services.
Right.
Yeah.
Occasionally, I see like
No.
ridiculously cheap hard drives, and I'm like, this has got to be a scam. Because like solid state hard drives are, of course, the most expensive. Those are the ones with no moving parts, and they're 4 times as expensive as a spinning hard drive. And I just saw one recently that was like 32 terabyte solid state hard drive, $100. I'm like, no, this has got to be a scam. And I was like clicking on it just to see what kind of scam, because a 32 terabyte solid state hard drive, I don't even know if such a thing exists, would probably be about $1,000. 10% of that, I was like, no, this is a scam. I don't know what's going on here. But because it's amazing, how many scams Facebook lets through. It's just like all the time I get advertisements on Facebook. I'm like, this ain't real. This is obviously a scam.
Oh yeah,
like that one.
Dealing with internet scams, it just there's such a backlash of what becomes a scam or what is part of a scam. Like a while back, many people's Microsoft's Outlooks, not the Outlook, the calendar, got a scam. The Ray-Bans, buy a Ray-Ban, it became like somehow it got into your system, and every day on your calendar it would just say buy Ray-Bans from here. Kind of thing.
It is amazing how people use Ray-Bans a lot for scams. Yeah, I've seen so many Ray-Ban scams.
There's so many Ray-Ban scams all over the internet. I refuse to get a pair of Ray-Bans. And unfortunately, it's not Ray-Ban's fault, but I blame them. Every email was a Ray-Ban. They had nothing to do with it, but to me, they're so tainted that the moment I see the name Ray-Ban, that's a scam. I don't want to deal with it. I would never buy a pair of Ray-Ban glasses because of it.
Yeah, I'm not a sunglasses guy, so I'm not buying any sunglasses anyway. But yeah, I know what you mean. I see Ray-Bans now. I think scam.
Exactly.
They've been going on for decades, those ones.
Oh yeah, completely. So the moment I see their name, it's like, that's gonna be a scam. Even if I walk by a Ray-Ban sunglasses place, all I can think of that's gotta be a scam. Those are probably not real sunglasses.
They're not getting my money. They're not tricking.
They're not at all.
Well, those guys in the street who say, "Hey, you want to buy some sunglasses? You want to buy some sunglasses?" They're always Ray-Bans.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. Always.
Yep. They're fake Ray-Bans.
Fake Ray-Bans. Selling your
Even
box
if they
full
block
of bricks.
The sun, I'm not going to believe them.
Selling your box full of bricks that you think is a VCR. That was a 90s scam.
Yeah.
Good evening, Comic Crack. How are you doing today? Comic Crack. Oh, and I finished my first painted Pop Funko Monster Sun. I put a coat of glossy on it. There he is with an exclamation point for a nose and this crazy painted guitar body. Not bad for me having no clue what I was doing when I started out with this one. Having no plan and just figuring out, because it was like, as I was painting it, I ended up with sort of this Jackson Pollock-ish body. It's a cross between Jackson Pollock and, what's his name? The pointillist, Seurat, whose first name I can't remember right now. Because I started painting, and I have no patience. It's amazing for all the patience I have for drawing and painting and all that stuff. I have no patience for painting miniatures. None whatsoever. Don't want to paint models. Don't want to paint miniatures. So I started painting this sort of like you would a miniature. Oh, let's make his coat brown. Oh, let's make his hands pink. And I'm just like, oh my God, this is so boring. I can't. All I'm doing is changing colors where it already had colors. It's like I got to come up with something better than that. So then I just started painting streaks on them and built that up until I have this, like I said, this very Jackson polish or pointillist coat going on with layers of different colors. I was like, oh, I like that. After I did that, I was like, I like that much better.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I could see Pollock in that, and just a little bit of Dia de Muertos in there as well.
Yeah, definitely in the fit because it's a monster.
Yeah,
it's got that going on. Yeah, Day of the Dead. Mm-hmm. Excellent custom pops. Yeah. Hello there. What about a pop for each one of you three? That'd be too. Someone who's good at painting miniatures is going to have to do that. Like I'm terrible. I have no patience for painting miniatures, so I got to make weird art things out of them. And the last thing I painted was that exclamation point on the nose. I was like, it needs something there. How about an exclamation point?
It works.
Yeah, I think it works pretty well. And I got the head off by I used the method of putting it in hot water, but I put the whole thing in them. I put a bowl of water in the pop, and I put that in the microwave. Put the pop right in the 4 minutes is what they said to do. So I did a minute to make sure, then I got it right off. Then I had to get some. It's weird the way these are built. I found out that this is the glue you use for gluing pops' heads back on. It's like a flexible glue, clear, transparent, flexible glue. But I also realized the way that pops' heads are is on the bottom of the pop, there's a ring. And in that ring is like a normal, a peg, the typical toy peg that goes through a hole. And a lot of people will like pull out the ring and they're like, oh, the ring sometimes stays with the head. It sometimes stays with the peg. And I was like, you know what? I really just need to get the peg out. So next time I'm going to try it. I'm going to try leaving because the ring is what you have to glue back in place, which is real easy. It doesn't matter if I mess up. It's real easy to glue back in place. It's just a plastic ring. But I was like, you know what? All I really have to take out is that peg because I had to take the ring off of the peg anyway because it was all on his shoulders. But yeah, learned a little something about pops, taking pops apart and painting them. Finally.
I'm actually surprised you put it in the microwave. Usually the way that I've done it with the, which is called the boil and pop method.
Right.
For action figures is you just get the water boiling hot.
Right.
And you take the water out and then you dip the pop in the part that you want to modify. With action figures, usually just a leg or a knee or an arm, but you can put the whole thing in. But putting the whole thing in the microwave, never heard of that. But
I saw that on a video. I watched one person put it right in the microwave. I went, let's try that.
There you go. What's the worst that can happen? Pop soup?
Yeah. Some of the paint, because I already had painted some of it in acrylic paint, and a little of the paint came off in the water in the microwave. But that's all that happened to it. Other than that, it was perfectly fine. Just got soft, so I could pull out the ring in the peg. Did you make it to the comic shop this week, Wilson?
I did not. I did not make it to the comic book shop. I did read a comic book this week. I figured, might as well read the piles of books that I have. And so I finally read that first issue of the new Secret Wars that came out. Do I have it here? Let's see. I do. Secret Wars Battle World. And just what I thought was going to happen in it happened, which is, this is the cover to issue number 1. The 4-issue miniseries. And we revisit the Secret Wars Battle World, being that it is the.
There we go. Oh, I think I muted you somehow.
You muted my mic. Yeah, you also muted my mic. So it's the 40th anniversary of Secret Wars. You see the logo there. So we revisit Battle World and Battle World, where Secret Wars took place. And these stories, or so far, the story starts focusing on Spider-Man, and it is from the issue of Secret Wars, and they give you like a nice little time period where this story would take place. And so where the question mark is where the story takes place. If you have the original issues, you can this will go in between the panels, so to speak, of the adventures. And so far, Spider-Man is not too sure what he's doing. He's running around. He was trying to get something to eat because they were taking a break from one of the big battles. This takes place after issue 8 because he's in his black costume. And so it gives you a quick rundown of what's going on in Secret Wars, where it lands in the continuity of the story. And basically, this is almost a test on the individual characters, so they were focusing on Spider-Man. We can only assume it's the Beyonder conducting this test, but he's speaking with another superhero. I mean, with another character. We don't know who it is yet. The Human Torch, who was in Secret Wars, joins them in this particular adventure. And what's fascinating about it, and this is what I suspect why they did it this way, is you get a surprise where you have the Hobgoblin on Battle World. Now, in the original 12-issue miniseries, Hobgoblin wasn't in there, but Hobgoblin did appear in the original toy line. So what I suspect, just by the cover to issue number 2, all the characters that are there all appeared in the original toy line, except for the Absorbing Man. They never made his action figure for the original release. So I think these stories are basically bringing these characters into Battle World just for it to tie in with the toys. They didn't really make that many toys because the line had 2 waves. The third wave was only released in Europe and South America. So some of those characters we never got in America. And then the line was canceled.
And they can bring like people who weren't in the original in and then just say, oh, they were defeated outside sort of the continuity of the original one. That's probably
and this is not the first. And this is also not the first book to do it because years ago there was, I think, another 4-issue miniseries called Spider-Man Battle World. I never picked those up. That was during the between time I was buying comics, so I don't know where that falls into like the continuity of it all, because there seemed that also showed adventures going on Battle World again during the downtime of in between the big battles that appeared in the comics. This is written by Tom DeFalco, and the artwork is by Pat Olaf, who does a great Spider-Man, especially those Untold Tales of Spider-Man.
Yeah.
So it connects to, for me, it connects to that as well. Pat Olaf and the Pat does pencils and inks, and John Kalis, if I'm pronouncing that correctly, is the colorist.
Yeah.
And Joe Caramanga, I always think I'm saying that name wrong, is the letterer.
Those are both long-time Marvel freelancers.
Yes. So it's a nice little, for me, it's a nice little step back into that world, just for the sheer fun of it. And again, 40th anniversary. I didn't feel old until I saw that logo on there.
You ever a Secret Wars fan, Paulo?
Yeah, Secret Wars came out here in a very weird format because they wanted to tie the comic with the toy line, but the continuity was still 3 years behind the United States. So they changed everything the first time they published Secret Wars. Number 1, Rogue's not there. Number 2, Captain Marvel's not there. Number 3, the Beyonder changed the Storm into a punk for no reason. Because this was before the Wolverine's wedding, so we weren't supposed to know that. It's Tony Stark inside the armor, stuff like that. And it would be over about 10 years later that we finally got it as we were supposed to have. It was the final arc of stories in the Brazilian edition of Web of Spider-Man, which was essentially Marvel Tales, that had old stories after they finished Secret Wars, which was a good idea to do it. It was something that people had been clamoring for and they had never done. Reprints, republished Secret Wars as it was supposed to be, with all the characters in there. And after that, it just became the second Spider-Man book because there was Spider-Man stories, so many in the 90s.
I bet they could reprint it as it appeared, sort of in the foreign versions, and there'd be interest, like I'm sure Wilson would like to read that. Like, what did Secret Wars look like when Paulo read it, with all the changes to it?
I'm the type of person who does like seeing how they made the changes.
Yeah.
Because I also collect other Secret Wars memorabilia, like the sticker books, action figures, of course. I got Spider-Man right here. The only ones I never got from the action figures are those few that were overseas, which was the Constrictor, Iceman, and Electro. Those are the only ones that I'm missing because they were never released here in the United States.
Constrictor was always
I didn't get into those.
Constrictor was always a weird villain with a weird superpower. Like, he had those steel wires that wrapped you up. And it was like, that was it. And then he had to let you go or you were attached to him. I just always found him really strange. I think they electrified them too, right? At one point, it was like
eventually, I think they did.
Maybe knock you out and then but that's just such a weird superpower. Aha! I've got you. Now you can't go anywhere. Well, you're the villain. Don't you want to get away with stuff? I always just found the Constrictor a really strange power.
I mean, if the cable's detached, okay, but no.
Let's see. We got a couple of comments here. Now inside the armor, it will be Wolverine instead of Tony Stark in Secret Wars. They really erased Rogue and Captain Marvel and changed the dialogues to go along. Yeah. Line the comic says, for his 50th anniversary, Wolverine will receive an adamantium armor. My trip to the comic shop this week was really expensive because not only were there 10 comics on my pull list, I picked up a hardcover, which is the Times Squared Omnibus, Howard Chaykin's Times Squared Omnibus, which I didn't realize I must have read some of, because I think it says as a backup in American Flag. But I was just reading by coincidence, I was reading American Flag #1 this week digitally, because I haven't read American Flag since the 80s. And you know what's funny about I didn't remember issue 1 of American Flag at all. But what I didn't realize was, even then, Chaykin wasn't holding your hand. I mean, there was so much stuff going on in American Flag #1 that is like, he doesn't hold your hand at all. And I didn't remember. I didn't really start. Maybe because I stopped reading Chaykin for like 20 years when he did only mainstream stuff, that I never noticed until like the aughts that he really doesn't hold your hand when he tells a story. He doesn't even give you, meanwhile or back at the ranch or anything like that. You just have to know the scene has changed and tell there's different people there. And he was doing that in American Flag too. I didn't realize, or at least I'd forgotten all about that. But this, I guess, originally I don't remember what it's about. Well, let's see if it tells us in the back. At the intersection of infinity, where eternity meets forever. There's a bit of nonsense for you. When forgotten ghosts ring changes in an orchestra lost to time. When tomorrow... Oh, come on, tell me what the book's about. Don't give me poetry. Graphically experimental, narratively daring, and visually explosive, Howard Chaykin's Times Squared was a work ahead of its time. Now to commemorate the project's 35th anniversary. Whew, with the arrival of long-awaited conclusion. It still is. I still don't know what Times Squared is about. But there's like there's a conclusion in it that wasn't in the I guess there was 2 collected volumes of it. Times Squared, Hallowed Ground. That might be the new one. And there's new stuff in it to wrap up the story. And look, it's a map book. They give us a map at the beginning. Now that I know what a map book is, but like I think the original parts are like short backup story chapters because like I said, I don't. My friend Rob was like, "Oh, I remember not liking that," and I was like, "I don't remember it at all." I wanted to check it out, but I think I don't think it was on Kickstarter. It was on one of those crowdfunding things, and I was tempted to get it, but I'm like, oh, it's $35. This is Image publishing it. I don't know what it cost on Kickstarter, or I don't think it was Kickstarter, whatever the crowdfunding thing was, but it was around that plus shipping. So I was like, I hope they come out with it to the comic shops or something. I'll wait till then. And it showed up on final order cutoff, and I was like, all right, I'll order it. So I got it for $35 minus 10%, I think.
The new trade waiting is standard distribution waiting.
Yeah, exactly. It's like, I don't want to pay $15 for shipping, and because I'm not really interested in all the extras you get with crowdfunding. I know a lot of people love the extras, but I'm just like, that's just junk lying around to me.
You don't want the bookmark in the buttons in the exclusive print.
My Great Gatsby bookmark that I got 3 months later and went, what is this? Oh, a bookmark in the mail. That was the funniest thing. I paid for my $85. I got the box of the box set of Gatsby. Oh, let's see. It looks like Sleepy Readers here. Good evening, Cavernous Comic Snobs. What's new in Portugal and the greater New York City area? Stickers are so useful. Stickers go in my sketchbooks. That's all they do. If I happen to get a sticker, I stick it in but I get so few stickers that sometimes I just print some out because I got sticker paper for my inkjet printer.
Yeah, in the 80s,
only stickers I ever
like
keep.
to collect.
The only stickers I ever keep. Go ahead.
No, in the 80s, kids love to collect stickers of whatever. They
oh yeah, everybody loves stickers. I just don't want to pay extra for them.
Right. Because you got them for free. You went into a shoe store. And, hey, you got stickers. You're a kid. Have a Nike sticker. Whatever.
Stickers for a good job never stops being exciting.
Exactly.
Yeah, confetti or balloons? Woohoo! Confetti.
Here's your Nike sticker. Now go away. You bother me.
What stickers?
The only stickers I ever keep, and I end up putting it on the back of my iPad, is when I go to places like the Society of Illustrator or New York Society visitor passes. I kind of like, and I end up putting them on the back of my iPod. Don't know why. That's what I do with those types of stickers.
Sleepy Reader throws the stickers away. I thought you'd give them to your daughter. I do keep the bookmarks. The most useless was a coin stamped with an image of Nexus. See, coins to me are at least useful because I'm a fidgeter. So I actually have. Let me show you this. I was thinking about getting a coin to fidget with, but in the end, I settled on getting poker chips because they're a lot cheaper than coins, and these are like I forget these are the heaviest poker chips you can get, because when casinos make poker chips, they actually go out of their way to make sure they feel good in your hand. So just as a fidget toy, I bought some poker chips and I pick them up every now and then and fidget with them. So Coins are kind of useful to me for fidgeting, at least.
Red Anvil Press gave out War of the Independence. Red Anvil Press gave out some chips with their logos on it. What ends up happening with like stickers and stuff like that, I end up putting them into bags of stuff.
Oh, wow.
And this bag was funny that this popped up because there's not that many stickers in here. But the reason why I thought it was funny to pull out was because last week we were talking about those annuals. And I did remember those annuals did come with cards.
Oh, look at that.
So here's Annex. So that was the time where every character, there was a new character that appeared in the annuals, and they all had cards. And I found the not the box, but the bag that I had these cards in. This
1993
is
annuals.
93 annuals, yeah. Dream Killer. Don't know whatever happened to him.
Nothing happened to him.
Comic Crack says, I love getting stickers. Got to get those filing cabinets decorated.
Yeah, that's what I did with a lot of magnets, and I ended up putting them onto filing cabinets. This the battling Banton, you know, finally get a Hispanic superhero, and he's a cockfighter. That's what we get.
They sound like Thomas Velasquez, who hated the tarantula, because he's like, a Hispanic guy with pointy shoes. That's what we got to get.
That's what we got. I even still have pros from back when I was working in a comic book shop. Prisons were all the rage.
Look at that. Embossed?
No, not embossed. Hologram prisons.
Hologram.
Prisons.
Okay. Comic Crack says, I also give some stickers to his daughter. Her daughter's pretty much covered with stickers. I'll hold my address so you can all send me your unwanted stickers. That's Comic Crack. He takes all stickers. I take all Nexus coins. Bum, bum, bum.
So many coins.
Clicking those already. Yeah, but I look forward to reading Times Square Omnibus sometime. So
yeah, that'll be cool. I gotta find a way to save money for that.
Let's see. Let me show you a comic I got this week too. Oh, we got the last issue.
You can find some stickers.
Oh, look at that. Those are some classic dollar store stickers right there.
Yeah, the puffy ones.
Yeah, puffy stickers.
I don't even know what set these are from. 1991.
Oh, those are cool.
Yeah.
I recognize that Dave Cockrum Colossus. Faceless in the Family, issue 404. Nice little wrap up to the story. This whole thing, there's a hardcover collection on sale in July if you want to get. Let's see, how much were these issues? $5 an issue, so I paid $20 for this series. The question is, would I be able to get the hardcover for $20 or less? That's what I'm always like, oh man, should I have gotten the hardcover? If it was an oversized hardcover, that would be, because like I said, the 6-point font is a little too small. But it was a nice little wrap up to a short story, and there's a little bit of to be. It's not real. It didn't end on a cliffhanger or anything, but there's a to be continued and a Faceless will return. So I guess he's got more stories he wants to tell. Oh, looks like Tit Goblin's here. He's late. Hello to everybody. Hello to you.
Welcome.
Well, this was a nice little series. His artwork, let me show you some of his artwork here, just because he had like fight scenes in it, and it was and they're just because he does these sort of wavy figures. At times, it was actually reminding me of Picasso's Guernica. Like, look at that. That's a fight scene with guys punching each other in it. So it was really sort of different. In this issue, he had a lot of big like here they're running away, and all of a sudden he has them running away through these random rectangles. So very sort of imaginative art that's not necessarily always literal, which is, of course, right up my alley. So definitely a series to enjoy the art on, even if you don't. I just wish it was bigger. I mean, because he does a lot of. I think this would look nice at a bigger size. Have either of you guys ever read any Matt Wisniewski?
No.
Yeah. Comic
I
Crack says
believe so.
imaginative is right. I love his art in that book. Yeah. No, he never made it over there. Paulo?
No, I've been interested in getting. Who publishes him?
This one is Oni Press. I know he's done like Sleepy Reader bought that originally on a Kickstarter, and it printed terribly. So he redid it. He rescanned everything in properly for the Oni Press book. But yeah, I don't think I found him on Twitter. You know, I don't know how. He just like showed up in my feed, and I've been following him ever since. Zoop. Oh, he did it on Zoop is another crowdfunding thing. Yeah, there's like 4 crowdfunding things I know of now. There's like Zoop, Indiegogo, Kickstarter, and there's one other, I think. I don't remember what that I've seen. I can't remember which Times Squared was on. But he's kind of very niche, but deserves a bigger, because he's done like on Twitter, he's drawn like, you know, Marvel and DC characters, and that can get him a bit of attention. Oh, Zoop does the printing for you, which is convenient, but I guess doesn't give great results. Yeah, they might be a print on demand place then. Print on demand has gotten a lot better, but I don't know how good they'd be at those. There's so many little tiny fine lines in his work, especially that. I saw him. Didn't he do? He did something with Matt Kint that Sleepy and I both bought from Dark Horse. Red something. That may have been the first actual series of him I was able to get. I can't remember what the name. It was like a 3 or 4 issue series from Dark Horse that Matt Kint wrote. Matt has had a hard time with publishers giving him a go-ahead and then pulling the rug out from under him so many times. Oh, Comic Crack's got it. Crimson Flower. Not red, but crimson. That was it. That's another Matt Wisniewski series that I think you can find from Dark Horse. I think that's who printed that one. And it was a fun spy series. Once again, his art's very imaginative. That's what I like about it. And also to try something out, I bought a second glue. I bought neutral pH adhesive, which is book glue. It's like you know, it's archival book glue, just because I want to see if I can do something like fix this little busted corner on my Warlock 5 book. In looking at book repair, a lot of times they use like a book tape on it. But I want to see if I can put some glue in there and then maybe tape it down. Just that little busted corner has been bothering me sitting in my in my to be read pile. I'm like, you know what? I wonder if I can do something about that. So I'm gonna try some book adhesive, and I don't have book tape, but I have framers tape. I don't know if I could use it, but once again, framers tape is archival, so it doesn't yellow and go away. But I keep giving myself, I'm endlessly giving myself projects.
Oh, I know exactly what you mean. I'm always working on doing something, whether it's toy repair or, you know, you watch a YouTube video on something and go, I bet I could do that. And then you start projects. Exactly.
I'm shocked I
I'm,
actually got one done. I did not think I was going to.
I've been
But like you
repairing
can
some of my
find
Migos and stuff like that.
you can find random those like this cost me I think $3. You can find random unwanted pops on Amazon for cheap. So
Yeah.
for $3-4, it's a good turned out to be a good project. Busted corner, image of book falling downstairs. I picture that all the time now that Chris put it in my head.
Falling down
For
an
those of you
escalator,
who-
so it just continues.
For those of you who don't know that story, I was telling the story once when Chris was on Giruso of I got an artist edition that I had to return, the EC one, that all four corners were smashed on. And I was like, I could not imagine. I could not imagine how you smash all four corners of the book. And Chris was like, it's easy. You roll it down the stairs. And now I can't help but picture that all the time when I see a broken book. It's bouncing down the stairs. All four corners it got. All four corners. And I also bought Penthouse comics. I didn't buy Penthouse comics in the 90s the first time around, so I'm like, let's buy it the second time around. And I think Paulo's going to have to tell me. I think it's all European comics with shocking nudity in it for us American audience. Because it's
or standard erotic for us Europeans.
Yes. Because it certainly it has the layouts of it looks European to me. It's got and I'll give you the names of who did the stuff in a minute. Paulo's gonna have to pronounce that Q guy for me. Of course, it's got Guillaume March is one of the stories. Jean Dufaux, Dufaux, The Dream. Yep. So I assume that's something that he's already done and printed. I assume all this is. Then there's one called Gun Crazy Videodrome by Steve D. and Jeff with one F, Jef. Then there's one called Miss October Playmate Serial Killer by Stephen Desberg and Elaine Alain. Here's the name I know how to pronounce: Queirix.
Queirix.
Kire. Yeah, I was like, I got no idea.
And the other one is not Desberg, it's Deberg.
It's Deberg?
Stefan Deberg.
Deberg. Okay, you don't pronounce the S.
He's a veteran. Yeah, he's a veteran.
Yeah, and then there's one called I Spit on Your Grave, based on the original novel by Vernon Sullivan and Boris Vian, Vian, which I know there's a movie, I Spit on Your Grave, but this bore no resemblance to the movie. And it's by Jean-David Morvan, Morvan, Ray, Rey, McCutty, Macutay, Rafael Ortiz, and someone named Cientronc, SCIE as in science, and TRONC.
Cientronc. I don't know where that might be from. Morvan is famous. He's one of the biggest specialists on Robert E. Howard in France. In fact, he was the consultant on the Sumerian books.
Okay.
And he wrote. Remember when Marvel tried those European-made graphic novels? He wrote the Wolverine one.
Okay.
Set in Brazil.
And for some reason, there's an Arnold Schwarzenegger quote on the back. In our society, the women who break down barriers are those who ignore limits. First of all, that doesn't necessarily make sense to me. And second of all, on the back of Penthouse Comics? Okay. I don't know how many women are picking this up to break barriers. There do not seem to be any barrier breaking women in the credits. But there was pretty, like I said, the first store. Let's see. Penthouse Comics is back. That's a bit surprising. Yeah, it is. It's back. It is by a completely different group of people. It looks very digital from here. Which the art looks very, it looks European. It looks fairly European to me. I don't know how, none of the 3 shops in my neighborhood had Penthouse Comics. I was a little disappointed. Arnold and Penthouse are all about helping women. Says Sleepy.
But like, I imagine that a lot of these guys are just painting digitally, but it's supposed to look like it's hand painted.
Okay.
They're coloring in French comics right now is never meant to look like basic coloring.
And the first story we have revolves around a guy who does a live sex show and then gets recruited by this woman to do some acting, which has something to do with spying. And the biggest problem I had with this was the lack of information. I wish they would have given me some biographical information on the creators and a little information about these stories themselves, because they just kind of begin and end. And there's not even a to be continued, but the stories obviously haven't ended. And then the second one is about these 2 women who are once again involved in a live sex show of some kind. They're more like strippers, but they're 2 women 2 brown-skinned women who paint themselves up like white women and go into these hillbilly bars. And I don't want to give away what happens then, but that's another weird. And then they go into this all-female fight club story that in that same story. So that was like, okay. And then let's see the final story, Miss October. This is the one that's about the centerfold serial killer or something. It seemed like to me to be a centerfold thief, because there's a woman in here who's really pretty, who's a thief, who, what is it, gets in a car accident or something and goes deaf. So she's already deaf by the time we meet her. And it takes place in like Los Angeles in '63. So it's this deaf woman. So it's all about this deaf woman, or a woman who's gone deaf. So she can speak, but she can't hear you. And I think she turns out to be a thief. And meanwhile, there's a centerfold. There's a serial killer who's killing women and posing their dead bodies as centerfolds. So I guess it's a crime thriller. I liked all 3 stories. Pardon me, there's one more story. There's 4 stories, which is the story of a young guy. I think he's supposed to be just out of high school or maybe just out of college. And he moves to a small town to work in a library. And then he meets this young, hot crowd who he has sex with. And and how did this one end again? It just kind of ended. In this new town, he's hanging out with a young, hot, sexy crowd. And then it ended because it's obviously the first, 12 pages of a much longer story. So overall, I enjoyed the whole thing, but I just wish they had given me some background. Sleepy says, I wonder if they're just serializing European albums in the more erotic variety. Any mention of translators? Let's see. I think that's from this one, it seems that what they're doing. Let's see. Co-publisher, editor-in-chief, senior editor, photographer, featured model, contributing writers, contributing artist, cover artist, distributor, office of publication. I don't see anything about translate. And in the back is a couple of articles about the most expensive porn movies ever.
Yeah. How many pages in each story? They're being serialized.
I don't. Let's see. This one is 2 to 16. So it's 14 pages.
Okay, yeah.
16 to 37. It's about 20 pages.
Yeah, so not out of the
38
ordinary.
to 62. What was that?
Not out of the ordinary to publish graphic novels like that. There
Yeah.
are a few French magazines who do it even today.
Right.
Miss
I was
October
curious if it might have been inventory art from the original series.
No,
I don't
Miss,
think so. I don't think it's been around that long.
Miss October in particular has 4 albums. The first one is from
Yes,
2012.
the I Spit on Your Grave story was that guy in the bookstore, right? Let me see.
And Gun Crazy, the artist Jeff, he did a Jim Morrison biopic in 2010.
Yes, is that the Spit on Your Grave story? That's the last one, right? It's tough to see. Oh, come on. These thin magazine pages. It's like, which story am I on? Yeah. The last one about that guy moving into town and being working in the bookstores, the I Spit on Your Grave. So Miss October is translation. not well. Okay. I thought they were okay. I enjoyed it. I'd buy more of it just because, I don't get a chance to read this European stuff. Oh, and the back is they even have a photo layout, which only on the last page there's actual nudity in. The rest is just implied nudity. And it was better than just glancing through it at first. I was like, oh, this looks like old stuff that they just recropped. But I don't think it was. I was looking at it going, oh, okay, When I gave it a chance, actually, I was like, oh, the photography's not bad. It's not.
Yeah, most of that has been
top
published.
notch, but
most of that has been published in the last 10 years, which for the French market means it's brand new.
Yeah.
No, because you don't publish a new comic every month.
Right. But there was about a half dozen different covers and choosing Chase, including the Chase ones. I think the Maria Lovett cover was $40 in our store, so that was probably a Chase one. Oh, speaking of that, I was like I said, if you want one of the Chase comics that's like a 1 in 25 or a 1 in 75, my comic shop will order it for you, but it'll cost you the price of all those comics. But he also pre-sells them on eBay sometimes. So it's like there was somebody on eBay ordered 3 copies of this week's Gwen Stacy, not Gwen, Spider-Gwen 1 in 25 cover, which he says is in our shop. He usually orders 6 or 7 of them. That's all he sells. But this month he's got 75 extra of them because he has to order 25 copies in order to get the 1 in 25. And this person, wanted the 1 in 25, so paid for the 1 in 25s, 3 copies of it. I was like, now I got 75 copies of this comic. They can't move. See, Penthouse Comics was a lot of meh and 2 good stories. Yeah, I enjoyed it, but I'm an anthology. I like anthologies in general, and that's always sort of the way with it. I'm completely okay with the fact that I'm not going to like all the stories in anthologies. Sometimes I'm going to only like a few of them. But this, being that I don't ever get to read any European stuff, it just doesn't make it over here. I was happy to read that, even though it was just kind of, I don't like the way the stories just ended because I think they could have made a better package of it. That's all. That has nothing to do with the stories themselves. It has to do with all the information they gave us about the stories. Where is it? Was this. That's it. That's all the info. They could have done something with they could have said, I Spit on Your Grave Part 1 as adapted by, and gave us a little information about these people. told us when it was adapted by it. I mean, I'm pretty sure anybody who's buying this is savvy enough to know that it's already been published in Europe. I mean, is there anyone buying Penthouse comics at their local comic shop and not knowing about European comics? I don't know. Maybe there are some, but I don't think they have to pretend it's all brand new stuff that they came up with. They could tell us a little backstory to it. Well, hold on, what was that? Well, good luck to get rid of. Yeah, somebody just asked me on my, I forget who it was, on my my YouTube this week, if I ever sell any of my comics. I'm like, I have in the past, but most of the comics I buy, there's like no demand for. So it's not even worth it to try and sell it, because no one but me wants it. You know, even on eBay, it's like, and I have found on eBay, if you're selling your comics for really cheap, you'll get more problems than it's worth, because people looking for something for nothing are the biggest headaches. So it's like, I could get rid of these 40 comics for $10 and clear them out, but I'm not really making any money on that. I'm losing. If you factor my time in, I'm losing money. So I may as well. I have it like my friend Rob does it all the time, because he buys a lot of sort of, when he doesn't want comics anymore, he just brings them back to the comic shop and gives them to him. It's like anything they can get for him, they split with him. But he's just like, I don't care. I just get him out because it's not stuff he's ever going to read again. He's gotten his worth out of them because he read them once. Steve Reader says, maybe Penthouse Comics is ultimately aimed at what remains of the porn mag sector. I don't even know if it's going to make it to the newsstands. Maybe the whole thing is to print the graphic novels, and this is just like any normal comic that they print the monthly issues, and then they're going to print the graphic novels, and they make their money on them. I don't know. Yeah, same problem I have, Jared. Yeah, exactly. You can't sell them, most of them. No one wants the stuff comic cracking I get. Tit Goblin. I'm sure there's a few American buyers in America that are buying the Penthouse that doesn't even know there's a Europe, let alone a European. Yeah, there's probably a percentage like that. You are right.
I don't know.
I get it myself. Okay.
If you wanna buy that magazine, you're looking for something different.
Yeah. Right.
I mean, I'm sure that Marvel readers, there are probably some Marvel readers who don't know there's a Europe, but I'm not sure if that's the case. I'm sure that the people from Penthouse who buy Penthouse comics have heard of Europe.
They have,
even if it's just in Seinfeld.
Let's see, what other comics have I got? Oh, finally a semi-interesting cover on the Ministry of Compliance.
Mm-hmm. Can't go wrong with apes.
Right. And let me show you. I like the art inside of it. It's just the first two covers were because everybody's wearing like corporate business wear in this comic. So it's really, this is the one I showed you where the woman was supposed to be wearing a sexy outfit. And it was, a blazer with a skirt, a gray blazer with a gray skirt. Like I said, I like the art inside. It's kind of a spy story, a political spy story. Turns out like the people behind the scenes are really aliens trying to take over the Earth. But now some Earthlings have found out about it, and they sabotaged the aliens' way back to their home planet. So now some of the aliens are trying to get off the planet, and the aliens from outer space, part of the Empire, are like, just follow our instructions and stay there. So the people have to stay there. What was that?
That's not important, Jared. What's going to sell that comic? It's gorillas in yellow on the cover.
There you go, gorillas in yellow. There's usually a few covers, but like the first two issues had all boring covers. Like, where is it? Oh, I guess this is another one of the alternate covers. I Won't Talk. Oh boy, the excitement. A guy in a chair with three people looking at him.
But they're in red.
Come on. Come on. Uh-oh. This is next issue's cover. A wanted poster with knives in it. Oh, the thrills. Look, it's a person staring at you. Such boring covers. This might be the only interesting covers of the whole series so far. Who does this one? IDW. Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles: The Untold Destiny of the Foot Clan. See, the back cover is more striking, just because it's glowy. Got a similar hand gesture. He's giving you one finger. She's giving you all 4 fingers. The scary hand gestures. What are you saying? Sleepy Reader says, I have relatives in Idaho who think anything from Europe is communist. That's the extent of their knowledge. Yeah.
Not everything. It's just 75%. Also, I don't believe you have relatives in Idaho, because from what I heard, nobody actually lives in Idaho.
There's just compounds of people there.
Yeah, there's yellow soul. That was the joke. Who said it? The color yellow soul? Julie Schwartz?
I think so, because there's a lot of, as Scott Connor used to complain, there's a lot of yellow in old comics.
Yeah, because I think it was Julie Schwartz, because it was one of the stupid DC ideas.
Yeah.
Well, I heard the Purple Gorillas sells comics.
Purple Gorillas. Okay.
You've been buying Transformers. You've been buying Transformers, right, Wilson?
Yes, I did not get this week.
Favorite this week was so that one must be waiting for you, right?
Yes.
Transformers 5. Okay. Is it Daniel Warren Johnston has been killing it?
I've been enjoying those
good. He's a pretty good creator.
They do a good job in the story. What was surprising to me, and I might have mentioned it last time when I was talking about the Transformer books, definitely wasn't what I was reading as a kid. Characters are being killed left and right, and it's like a little jarring because I'm not used to that in my comics.
Yeah.
So again, robots killing robots, whatever, that's fine, that's kind of thing. But when you have Transformers squeezing the life out of people, it's a little jarring to see in a comic book, not expecting it. So it's like, well, these aren't selling toys as of yet, are they?
These aren't your father's Transformers.
They're not my Transformers. My Transformers don't kill on screen. Those implied.
Hit Boblin says, apes are poppin'. That's a great cover. It's like some alternate reality where instead of dolphins and flamingos, it's apes on the covers. That reminds me, Tit Goblin sent me a picture of Veronica, an Archie Comics Veronica cover. I think it was number 43, where she's posing with two flamingos on either side of her.
Oh, nice.
And I actually looked up how much that comic cost. And it's about a $15 comic because it's a bikini cover.
Okay, yeah.
It's Veronica in a bikini posing on the beach with 2 flamingos about the same size as her, one on either side, 2 pink flamingos.
That's funny.
I was like, oh, bikini cover, $15. I was like, whoa. Not cheap. But yeah.
You would have to make flamingo stickers.
Flamingo stick, we'll stick them everywhere. Let's see, what other comics did I get this week? The Deviant with the hidden logo. That's like you really can't see the logo. I don't know what they're doing. It fades into the black. It's actually, I think it's easier to see on screen even than in real life. But this is the one that's the the Christmas noir story, where we've got a comic book writer who's wants to do a comic book about this serial killer who's been in prison for 30 or 40 years. And the serial killer may have been railroaded because he was gay. And the comic book writer is gay too. And his kind of link to the serial killer is that hearing about this gay serial killer was the first time he was introduced to the concept of gayness when he was a kid. So that's kind of why. And he's got a boyfriend who's a character too, who lives with him. But meanwhile, in like Chicago, is nearby. This takes place, I think, somewhere in the Midwest. There's a copycat serial killer. And the copycat serial killer either may be our comic book writer, which I don't think it is, or is the serial killer is planting clues that it's the comic book writer. He's leaving evidence behind. So now the cops are on the comic book writers. They haven't found him yet, but they want to talk to him to see what's up with these clues that are leading them to him. So it's been a fun noir serial killer detective story. Who's doing it? James Tinian, I think, James Tinian IV is our writer. The really nice art is by Joshua Hickson. Lettering by good old Hassan Atsmain El How. And I guess Joshua Hickson is doing the coloring as well as the art. But I've been enjoying this one. Who's putting this one out? Image. Issue number 4. So after 5, there should be a trade paperback. That slabbed dolphin cover blew my mind. Oh, that's right. He sent me another one. There was a slab of a dolphin on a. I forgot that one. I'm gonna look up what that is again. Mm-hmm. Oh, and by the guy we were talking about last week died. Did you see that? Paul Neary?
Paul Neary, yeah.
Yeah. I saw Mike Martz posted something about him that made it sound like he died. So I had to look it up. And I was like, oh.
Jimmy Chung posted something about him in his Instagram. Because Jimmy Chung said Paul Neary got him his first break in Marvel UK, but it was part of a bunch of comics that got canceled at the last minute. So the miniseries never came out. But it did open doors for further work at Marvel.
Yeah, they said he opened a lot of doors for a lot of people.
Yeah,
at Marvel.
Yeah,
they had a whole list of them. Carlos Pacheco,
definitely. Yeah, Dark Guard.
Brian Hitch, of course. Mm-hmm. There's a couple others.
Mystic War is so bad. The worst Brian Hitch art ever. Yeah. And Birch said in his video, Birch did a video about Paul Neary, and he reminded me of something that you don't really think about it because you're so used to seeing him everywhere.
Right. Sleepy Reader says, I remember Neary going back to the 70s mags. I think he did the character Hunter for them. Yeah, I didn't know he did Warren stuff until I read about him after he died. I was like, oh, he was around that long? He did Warren stuff in the 70s? Yeah, he did.
Yeah, I think he worked with the guy from the Pet Shop Boys at Marvel UK. But yeah,
until you mentioned him last week, I had forgotten he did Captain America. Even though the issues are on my shelf, I haven't looked at him in so long.
They're really good.
Yeah.
They're not what you expect from Captain America. Neary had when he was not only when he was drawing, because when he was drawing it depended on the inker, and there's, for example, he has covers that were inked by Joe Rubinstein, and they look much more solid than the artwork in the world looks more solid. It's not that the art isn't, the art's good, the art's very good, but Rubinstein makes it look the typical superhero look, and the Neary has that cartoonist who's good at doing several genres. And his superhero figures are purposefully exaggerated. Like what if Bernie Wrightson was drawing superheroes?
Right.
And you also notice, you kind of notice that when he's inking and he's doing Alan Davis. Now, a lot of the Alan Davis Captain Britain with Alan Moore, especially after Jim Jaspers rearranges the world, the world doesn't look real, but the figures, especially Captain Britain, they stand out. They look solid, even though there's a little bit of scratchiness. It's not like you do whole blacks. There's a little bit of scratchiness, but that gives the characters motion. Like if they're not posing, you can see the body language. And after Neary stopped inking Davis, which kind of coincides with his period as editor-in-chief of Marvel UK, Mark Farmer becomes the regular
Right.
Alan Davis inker, and it's totally different. He makes all of the Alan Davis figures look more plastic,
Right.
emphasizing the cartoonist aspect of Alan Davis's art. So it's yeah, Neary had that way of making characters stand
I
out.
once had an art teacher explain that there's among the approaches to drawing, there are artists who approach it as if they want to draw everything in the world as the material it's made. Everything is made out of different materials, and they want to draw that material. And there are artists who approach it as everything in the world is made out of the same material, and that's how they draw everything as if it was made out of the same material. And that's how Alan Davis and Mark Farmer always looked to me, is everything is made out of the same material in their world. And they're the only ones who ever really, because it's got that same really nice, slick line, and everything is drawn to sort of the same level of perfection. So whenever I looked at, I was never, well, he did all mainstream superhero comics, so that's not my thing anyway. But I always kind of enjoyed his work, but never really got into it.
But you have his 2000 AD work, and
I haven't seen that stuff really. I don't have much 2000 AD.
Because DR and Quinch, you know that there are characters in Captain Britain and Excalibur who look like very weird aliens.
Okay.
And that's a style he developed at 2000 AD. DR and Quinch is very cartoony.
I remember those names. But I've read more about 2000 AD than I have 2000 AD.
Yeah. Well, everyone has.
Yeah.
I was saying something because
even in 62 Lefty Blues.
Birch mentioned in his video about Paul Neary that when he was working for Des Ken at Marvel UK, he was the editor of Captain Britain in the Marvel Superheroes anthology, and he was the one who replaced Dave Thorpe with Alan Moore. So that's how Alan Moore got noticed in Captain Britain in the UK in Captain Britain, because he had already done stuff at 2000 AD, but he got noticed doing Captain Britain, and so Paul Neary created Alan Moore.
Our friend Bunch is the only one I know who was a 2000 AD fan and collected 2000 AD. He bought it like all through the 80s, and I think into the 90s. But he's the only one I know who's read, all of 2000 AD. No one else I know has read anything more than a handful of issues.
Well, you're not supposed to read it full. The thing, if you like a character, you try to follow that character, because they do a storyline. It's in 8-page installments, and it finishes that storyline, and then you wait until the character or the feature comes back. So you try to keep up with that if you like something.
if I remember correctly, it was a weekly comic
It
in
still
the
is.
80s. And I can remember that it wasn't like offered in most comic shops over here, but at times it was. This is in the 80s. At times it was, and it's like you'd get it once a month. So it's like you'd get 4 issues of 2000 AD once. So it was actually an expensive comic to buy too, because you got to buy 4 issues at once. So I think that, made it not catch on as
Yeah,
much as
but
it maybe.
it's worth it. Those guys know how to take advantage of the 8 pages
Right.
because the action
Yeah.
never stops.
Yeah, the stuff I've
And-
seen, like when Brian Boland's Judge Dredd hit over here, it was pretty popular. Like who published that first? Eagle Comics, I think it was, in the 80s. Now everybody's like, ooh, that's the first time anybody had seen that. Sleepy Reader says, I never saw 2000 AD in the 80s, but Warrior was readily available in the shops I went to. Yeah, like 2000, you're right. 2000 AD wasn't around a lot. Let's see. Got Bill Budd KGB in the mail today. Looks great. That one I don't know. But you can get it as a monthly 4-pack now on your pull list. Yeah, I remember it being a monthly 4-pack sometimes in the 80s, but I didn't know they still had it like that. Monthly 4-pack. But that means it's not cheap. And here's one I picked. I don't know why I pre-ordered this. I can't remember. But it's Dracula AD AM After Man. It's a post-apocalyptic Dracula story. So, and it's by American Mythology Productions. The writer is Constantine with a K. Paradies. The artist is Gerardo Gambone. And the colorist is Giovanni Caputo. The letterer is Rob Jones. And it's the story about... I guess there's a lot of vampires on Earth, and Dracula and like the apocalypse is happening. So Dracula puts himself into suspended animation, and then wakes up out of suspended animation to an Earth many, many years. So it's kind of what if Dracula was Commandy, the last boy on Earth, now that I think about it. And
Dracula on the Planet of the Apes.
Yeah. So he wakes up and there's like these monstrous animals that try to eat him. And he tries to he finds some human-like creatures who are like these ape-like things who he finds out he can talk to. And he tries to drink their blood, but their blood is blue and it tastes terrible. But he makes friends with one of these apes. But then this, who is it? This reptilian shows up. I don't know if he's a space alien or what. But he shows up and just kicks Dracula's ass. I mean, Dracula has no chance against this guy. And it ends with, like I said, he just kicks Dracula's ass and he's about to kill Dracula. He's already cut off Dracula's hands. I mean, he's just like tearing him up. It's not even a fight. Dracula's got no shot. And it was actually pretty good, except it's a $5 comic, and it wasn't worth it to me as a $5 comic. If it was a $4 comic, I might buy some more issues of it. But I was like, the $5 comics kind of have to be the best ones on it. If it's not really good, I don't want to spend $5 on it.
So that thing uses Dracula, Planet of the Apes, and Dragon Ball Z. Because the idea of the guy who kicks Dracula's ass, it's like Vegeta showing up on the beginning of Dragon Ball Z and kicking Goku's ass.
Wilson's back. And good evening, Video Homicide. We're having a great show. We're trying our best to have a great show. He usually does his Friday night smoke sesh over on his channel. If you want to check that out a little later on, where he chats about horror movies and such things and comics. 62 Lefty Blues, my LCS guy told me that one person orders the 2000 AD and they don't always ship monthly. So the guy will get 3 packs at one time. Wow. Sleepy Reader says that Dracula as Commandy sounds intriguing. Maybe that's what I was thinking too. Maybe in trade. I'm gonna have to see, because it's not a $5. $5 an issue is too much for me for that one. I was just like, no. I mean, I enjoyed it, but like maybe I'll be the asshole on that one and wait for trade. Wait for the single issue people to subsidize my cheaper trade. I'll keep my eye open. What would you wait for trade on, Wilson? Is there anything you wait for trade on these days?
Not really. I'm more discovering like storylines where it's like, oh, I think I would like to read that, and then I will
just
search
getting back
for the
into
trade.
stuff.
Yeah. Yeah. So it's like there hasn't been anything that I've spotted as of yet that's like, oh, I have to give that a try. The only ones have been the Skybound stuff. I'm being intrigued by G.I. Joe, since the Transformers stuff is connected to it. And I think my curiosity is leaning me to try to get those books. I just don't know if I want to wait for trades on those. Because I feel like sometimes I'll say, I'll wait for trade, and I don't really look for them.
Right.
You know?
For me, I'll wait for trade usually means I'll never see it.
I'm curious with the continuation of the Ninja Turtles Ronin story.
Okay.
I think I might wait for trade on that, since that's how I end up reading the first one. Instead of getting those individuals, I got the trade and it was a nice hardcover. I could see getting those books the same way.
Right. Someday I might sell my individual issues of The Last Ronin, because those actually have a little demand. I have all first prints of them. And I mean, how many issues were there? 5? I could probably easily get $50 for the 5 issues, all first prints, all in excellent condition. But I really haven't been motivated to.
Right.
If I ever get broke again, that's when I'll sell.
Right.
Matter of fact, I've been tempted to buy some expensive comics just if I ever get broke again. Because, like I said, when I turned 50, all my freelance work went away. And for like 2 or 3 years, I had so little work that I sold whatever expensive comics I had just to get some money. And I was glad to have had them. So I'm like, you know what? I should, now that I've had some steady work again for a few years, I should buy some comics that I can sell if things go bad. Because they came in
Wolverine
handy.
180. By Wolverine 180.
Wolverine 180 or Hulk 180?
Hulk 180, yeah.
Yeah. I sold Hulk 180 and 181. I had the worst copy of Hulk 181 you've ever seen. Sold for like $500. Raw. Because you can't get it was no value stamp. The cover was detached. Chunks of the cover missing. But being that you can't get a $500 copy of that, there was a lot of people bidding on it. I was surprised it sold for that much, because I would say that it was at best a 0.5 copy. But at the time I sold it, 5-6 years ago, probably the lowest price you could get, the least you would have to spend $1,000 or $2 to get any copy of Hulk 181. So I get people were anxious to get a low grade copy. They didn't care. They were like, it's this or nothing. And someone had given me that copy in my youth. I don't remember who. I don't remember when. Sometime like in high school, someone was like, here, you want this Hulk 181? It's beat the crap. I'm like, all right. And it was in my collection ever since, just sitting there. Let's see. 62 Lefty Blues. Anything James Tinian going forward is wait for trade for me. The decompressed storytelling drives me nuts. In trade, it's fine. Yeah, this what one did I just say? Oh, this the story. I expected this storytelling to go faster because it's a Christmas noir story. So I was like, how many issues can a Christmas noir story go? At this point, I say 24. I mean, that's what he's on pace for. I mean, I'm sure he can wrap it up in 12, but it's not going fast. But I'm enjoying it.
How long did the long Halloween last? I think that was a year, wasn't it?
That was a year, yeah. Who wrote that one? That was Jeff Loeb?
That was Jeff Loeb and Tim Sale.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. The Long Halloween. You're right, that was a year.
But at least it was in the title, so you kind of knew something was going on with that.
I bought that one in trade. That was like one of the last Batman stories I read. I think I bought Long Halloween 1 and 2 in trade. They were okay.
I only bought it like 5 years ago.
What was that?
I only bought it about 5 years ago.
Yeah,
it was a pretty good read.
Yeah, not bad.
Yeah, I got it when it came out. I think I might have got it in my bundles.
Wow, Sleepy Reader says my comic shop owner told me that Tinian is now his best-selling author. Oh, that's good. Cool.
All right.
He's got some good. I think I buy 2 or 3 books by him now. Indie stuff. I can't remember what, but I've been buying a lot of James. I don't buy it for him. I mean, for me, it's always art. If I don't like the art, I'm not buying it. But he obviously knows good artists who want to work with him, so buy a lot of his stuff. I can't remember the other 2 books I buy by him, or maybe it's only one now and one in. Who knows? That's amazing how these days it's like, unless you were a creator in the 80s and 90s, it's like I can't remember who you are. What is it? Oh, yes, World Tree. That's the other one. I'm getting that one by. And does he do that Ministry? No, not Ministry of Compliance. What was the other one that's about conspiracies? Ooh, I can't remember. World Tree is definitely him. Oh, Ministry of something. Oh, what is it? With that Lee Harvey Oswald is the star of. And Ministry of Truth. There we go. That's the other one that's on my pull. But I haven't seen, I don't know if they're coming out with another issue of that, because I saw that artist doing another project. I was like, wonder if there's going to be more Ministry of Truth. I'm not sure, because I don't think they ended the story. Maybe they're giving it a break. I don't know. So, yeah, so there's 3 James Tinian books I was buying. World Tree, Ministry of Truth, and The Deviant. Yeah, Department of Truth. That's it. Department of Truth, not Ministry. It's the Ministry of Compliance and the Department of Truth. I got to remember my official... it's on... Okay, so Department of Truth is officially on break. I wasn't 100% sure. Yep, we got both named Department of Truth. The artist in Tinian took a break to do Dracula. Okay, see, that's one that scared me right off. It's like Universal Monsters, Dracula. To me, it's like licensed books just scare me right off still. What is Tit Goblin saying up here? Art sales here are tourist seasonal, so selling my comics since November has been paying my mortgage. Wow. I don't miss them at all, and it finally feels like comics as an investment is a real thing, finally. Yeah, that's what helped me out back, 5 to 7 years ago. I even sold some like that. Well, I forget which one it was I bought, and like 3 months later it was hot, and I was like, oh, okay. I saw pages of upcoming Department of Truth when I met him at MegaCon. Oh, good, it's still going. Something is killing. That one I haven't bought. I haven't gotten. I read the first trade paperback of it, and it was okay. I did a Howler Mouse and picked up the Long Halloween Noir version at Ollie's for $9. It's in black and white, oversized hardcover. I have to. There's an Ollie's up by my sister in Orange County that I keep meaning to stop by sometime I'm visiting her, but I never do. I always go up and hang out and visit with my sister and nephew and brother-in-law and whoever else is there, and never want to leave to go to Ollie's.
I've heard
That's the
so many
closest
good
Ollie's.
thing about Ollie's to pick up comic books, and it's like, there's not one around here. That's also like a Ross. People on TikTok always talks about getting comics and toys at a Ross, and it's like, those are nowhere near me.
See, James says there's too many. Who's got that kind of cash? I think he's talking about something's killing the children. Yeah, there's so many different versions and now there's a second series, right? So I know I bought the first issue of it because I liked the cover, and I think it was a metallic cover. In fact, I can't remember the name of it now, but there's a something's killing the children spin-off even. Even though I don't remember, I was telling you about the comic I bought last week, Poison Ivy, for its cover, the different types of covers. I finally, dug through and found my pile that I bought just for the covers to show my students and stuff. The different things we can do. This is the metallic cover of Poison Ivy that I got last week. Here, I'll show them to you. Bigger. We got that one in the pile. This is the Newburn one that's oversaturated and wavy. So I show them that just for an example of oversaturation. Manifest Destiny has a big ink smear in the middle, so I show them that one. Oh, this is it. This is one of the Something's Killing the Children metallic that I liked, that I just picked up. Oh, this is one of those inks only one. Here is a black light DC cover that I picked up just to show them the black light ink.
I like that one.
Yeah, that one's pretty cool. I wish I had a black light to see it. This is one of the lenticular covers from Marvel. It turns out I got quite a few lenticular covers that you can't. Oh, it's not really changing. Oh, there we go. It's going between these two Moon Knight covers, the classic Sienkiewicz one and a new one. Here's a DC lenticular that I got. Like I said, I just got these to show them examples, and because they're kind of cool. Oh, this is a Catwoman one that's a die cut. So it opens up and there's something else in the mirror. Here's a Two-Face lenticular one. Or I guess the coin is moving somehow. We got an Amanda Connor Harley Quinn lenticular one. She flips in and out of a wedding dress. So I got a lot of lenticular ones. I didn't realize how many I had. This McFarlane Bob Wyacek lenticular one with the homage. Oh, House of Slaughter. That's the one I couldn't remember the name to. This has got a blue metallic cover that I bought this one once again just for the cover to have in my samples. So this is the House of Slaughter is the tie-in with what were we just talking about? Something is Killing the Children. There we go. So I dug these all out. I gotta put these in
lenticular covers, 70s technologies today.
Yep. Oops. I messed everything up down here where they were. Don't keep things in piles, kids. They'll get wrecked eventually.
That's my whole studio.
Gotta move those piles.
Yep.
Have you ever done production on a lenticular cover, Jared? I have never done production on a lenticular cover. I am guessing all you have to do is send them 2 pictures. All the work would be done by the artist in figuring out how he wants the 2 pictures to differ. And I imagine all you're doing is sending them 2 different files and saying, here are 2 images on a lenticular cover. And then it's taken care of at the printer. I'm not 100% sure on that, but I don't know if the production guy really has to do anything special for that.
I don't think so. I think there's more work in spot illustration, spot gloss and stuff like that.
I bought the hardcover. Something's going to collected 1 to 15, and volume 2 comes out in a couple of months. Cool. I'm not hearing enough people talk about Beneath the Trees Where Nobody Sees. Different author, but wicked. Yeah, I've actually heard that. I'm gonna pick up some. I'm gonna be picking up that because that's the book I've heard people talk about the most on YouTube. At least in sort of my area of indie books, and I imagine I'd be one of the people hearing about it, due to my interest in the people. But that's one I definitely want to check out, because it kind of reminds me of how Stray Dogs was hot a couple of years ago, and it's the same sort of thing with the dogs were the lead characters, and I think that one has got it's a horror book with anthropomorphic characters. So I definitely want to check out Beneath the Trees Where Nobody Sees. I'm gonna have to try. It's one of those things where I hear it, but I've never seen an issue of it, so I haven't been able to pick it up. So I'll have to. I'll have to see what my LCS can order for me on that one. Sometimes they can order 3rd, 4th, 5th printings or whatever. Sometimes things are still on the distributor level. But that's one I definitely want to check out. I recommended to someone and he told me to seek help. Yeah, that happens sometimes with the stuff I recommend. I'm like, I don't even like to recommend stuff a lot anymore because I'm just like, you know what? My tastes are so far afield that me recommending stuff is like on here I'll recommend stuff because you guys have been watching me for a long enough time that you know what my taste is. But like to random people or strangers, I'm not always quick to recommend stuff. See, all the issues are like $15 because of collectors, but they're doing at least another printing. Yeah, that usually helps me, and I can get at least a 5th printing of it. Like when I bought World Tree, it was because my LCS had like a 4th printing of issue 1, a 3rd printing of issue 2, a 2nd printing of issue 3, and a 1st printing of issue 4. And they were out on the rack, so I bought them all at once because I'd heard good things about it. Though I have to say that one has taken a little turn on me that I find it a little annoying because it did the thing where I don't necessarily like in storytelling. I don't know if it's a trope. I don't know what to call it. But in World Tree, there was this group of friends who 15, 20 years ago stopped this something on the dark web, or it's not even the dark web. It's somehow the other side of the web became sentient and was going to take over. They stopped it and locked it up in a box. Now, 15 years later, it's coming back and it's manipulating people and making them. So the guy who's kind of the leader back then brought them all back together. Meanwhile, he's been working for 15 years in case this happens. But then at the end of the first story, this leader gets shot and died. And like the rest of them are like, well, what do we do now? Well, he's got these plans for us, so he must be able to tell us what we're going to do. So it's like, it's kind of like an offshoot of stories driven by prophecy, which I can't stand anymore. It's like stories driven by prophecy are kind of like, it becomes the motivation for the characters is, well, it's the prophecy, we may as well do this. And it's kind of like, oh my God, I find that so tiresome. So when World Tree took that turn of killing that first lead character and then everybody else going, well, what are we supposed to do? And then like people show up and go, knock, knock, knock. Well, he left us this stuff for you to do, so why don't you do it? And I'm like, oh, why can't you just have him around being a leader? So that annoyed me a little bit about World Tree, but we'll see where it goes. It says, yes, I'm grabbing those that I can and ordering the rest on mycomicshop.com. It's like It. Oh, okay. Sounds like the Ghostbusters movie. Prophecy, yeah. I need more than just prophecy. It's kind of, yeah, that's why I'm tired of prophecy. And I need more than prophecy too. And this kind of And sometimes there's like, what am I thinking of? Oh, I was watching that that TV show. What is it? iRobot. Oh no, Foundation. That's it. The Isaac Asimov Foundation that's on Apple TV. I watched both seasons of that and just kind of liked it. It's funny. I think I watched both seasons after I got the COVID shot and was woozy from the COVID shot for a day. I watched Foundation. Made more sense like that when I was woozy. But the basic idea of Foundation, if you've never seen it, it's like this huge galaxy time spanning epic with all sorts of crazy stuff in it. But the basic idea behind it is there's this one guy who came up with this mathematical formula where his mathematical formula predicted and proved that their empire was going to die in 300 years. Which turns out is just like prophecy. So now he's doing things to try and guide humanity through the end of this empire, because there was no way for it not to die at the end of 300 years. But of course, all the people all the emperors who run this empire don't believe him, and they're not going to just give up their empire. So he's got like this, I don't know. It's like it takes place over time, and all these people in his like religion or whatever it is are trying to do things to save humanity, but they're all being motivated by this formula, this mathematical formula he came up with, which of course is BS. It's just prophecy in a different guise. So I find that kind of annoying. Yeah, I feel that way about all of Asimov. I'll finish something and then I think afterwards, I think I liked that. I've never actually read Asimov. I've somehow never managed to. But
I read Asimov years ago, like the Martian Chronicles.
No, that's not Asimov. That's Ellison, I think, right?
Oh, that's Bradbury.
Bradbury, yeah, that's it. Ray Bradbury.
That was Bradbury, yeah. I think it was like Asimov Presents.
I did read Foundation. If you read Foundation like it's a collection of short stories with the same theme, it reads better.
Yeah.
Because then the prophecy becomes just part of the philosophical aspect of the universe. It doesn't become the story.
Well, it's too much of the story in the TV show.
But of course it's a TV show,
right?
And they have to show it visually, and the stories are not visual at all. The books.
62 Lefty Blues says, I finally read the Foundation trilogy, and it was 3 books that were supposedly connected, but not really, and it takes place across 1,000 years.
Exactly. Short stories, sort of set in the same world.
Sleepy says, I think of Asimov as the kind of writer who plays with interesting ideas, but his worlds are like cardboard sets, and his characters nerdy know-it-alls.
He's not wrong.
The lead of the TV show is certainly a nerdy know-it-all. Foundation was a series of novellas collected into 3 books.
Yeah, but it's funny. I'm sure I've read one chapter as a short story in a collection.
It's funny because you mentioned the Martian Chronicles. I read the Martian Chronicles as a teenager and really liked it, and then read it like 20 years later and was like, "This is just a series of short stories that I don't see the point to." So it was like 17-year-old Jared was able to get the point, but 37-year-old Jared flew over my head. I don't know why. That's funny. It's like the story's the same. How come I don't get it? But I was really into it the first time I read it. I really liked it. It was one of my favorites science fiction things that I read in my youth. Let's see, what else did I get this week? Our Bones Dust. There's another one I'm going to compare to Commandy. post-apocalyptic story. The hero, once again, is this kid who's kind of on his own, and these other people right here are trying to capture him because there's so little food and water that they drink blood and eat people. I don't know how that's possible that there's so few people, that people are a food source. That makes no sense. And this is by Ben Stenbeck, story and art, Dave Stewart, colorist, Russ Wootan, lettering and design. And I like it. I really like the art. And there's also this alien who's trying to look, and who sometimes he's like what's his name from Mutual of Omaha, Wild Kingdom, who sometimes he likes to tag the humans to keep track of them like they were wild animals. And so this group of people, cannibal tribe, are trying to find this kid in Edom, and he just kind of home alones them in this rubble. He takes them out one by one, except he kills them. He doesn't just hit them in the head with a platter or whatever. So he kills them one by one until finally only the leader is left. And this is the part I didn't believe. This is the part that made me go, oh, come on. So first, there he is. He hits the leader. Where is it? There he is. He's got an arrow in his midsection. And see that woman behind him? She gets pissed off because the only reason she followed him was to keep her son alive. So then she stabs him right in the chest with a knife. I mean, she sinks a knife 4 inches into his chest. So now he's got an arrow in his chest. There he is. Let me see if I can show you here. He's got an arrow in his chest and a knife sticking out of his chest. And then he proceeds to get into a fight with this kid and beat the ever-loving with an arrow and knife in his chest. Nearly kills the kid until the kid hits him in the eye with a blowgun. And that finally kills him. And I'm just like, really? And all I can think of, have you guys seen the movie Spartacus?
Not for a while.
There's a training scene in Spartacus where Spartacus is first going to gladiator school. And it's like drill sergeant is teaching him how to be a gladiator. And he's got like this big paint bucket with a rag on a stick. And he dips the rag on a stick into the paint bucket, and he's using Spartacus as an example. And he's like slaps paint on his arm. And he's like, this is a section where you've injured a man. And he hits the red paint like in his chest. And it's like, this is a section where you kill a man. He's like, this is a section where the man's going to die, but he still might have enough energy to kill you. So you got to watch out. And I'm like, the chest is a section where he dies. You don't keep fighting when you've got an arrow and a knife sunk into your chest. You die. So just the fact that this guy kept on fighting and nearly killed this kid with a knife and an arrow in his chest just made me go, oh, it just like took me right out of the story. I'm like, oh, come on. You could have had him beat up the kid without that. So then at the end, the very injured alien goes and tries to save the kid. And that's where this issue ends up to the last. But I was just like, come on. I know from watching Spartacus that's the area where if you get a sword in, you die pretty darn quickly. There's no time for that's not one of the areas where you get hit and he's still got time to kill you even though he's dead. Nope. So that kind of annoyed me in it, but That's it. 37-year-old Jared lost the poetry in his soul. That must have been it. It's just kind of like, hey, splash page comics. And now my assistant will sneak up behind the rhino and poke him in the boys to show the quick reflexes of the African rhino. That Mutual Omaha, I remember. That's right. He always had his assistant do the dangerous stuff. I had forgotten that. You need to watch some more horror movies, Jared. That's it. I'm just not a horror movie fan. If he had superpowers, I'd understand it. But he's just some cannibal with a knife and an arrow in him. And if he had a knife and an arrow, like in his, well, if you notice on TV shows, it's always the guy gets a bullet in his shoulder and just shrugs it off. It's like, no, you don't shrug off a bullet in your shoulder.
Nope.
You can't move your arm anymore and you bleed to death. That's what happens when you get a bullet in the shoulder. But on TV, it's just like, that's like it's a flesh wound. I just got a bullet in the shoulder.
It went through.
Yeah.
Yeah, now you have 2 holes in your shoulder that you're bleeding from.
Well, sometimes they just make it go through the trapezius, and that's, okay. It's still
still
not a
hurts like
minor
hell.
injury, but at least it's not a bullet in your, because there's structure in there. That's not just a flesh wound. There's bone.
Yeah, it's how you do everything with your
You
arm.
can't do this anymore if you get shot in the shoulder.
Nope.
But you just patch it up and keep on. That's like one of my favorite things to see when I'm watching some action movie is the trope of, it's okay, I get hit by the cars all the time. Which actually hasn't happened the last time. The last 2 times I saw someone get hit by a car, they were gravely injured. But it always happened like in the middle of a chase scene. The guy's running along. All of a sudden he gets hit by a car. He like rolls over the hood and then keeps rolling. It's like, it's okay, I get hit by cars all the time. It's like, no, that doesn't happen when you get hit by a car.
Yeah, I remember an Eddie Murphy bit. It was, hey, did you hear the Pope got shot? Man, I want, in the movies when they guy gets shot. Damn it, I'm shot. Go on without me. No, I'm thinking, if I was shot, I'm sure I would say, motherfucker. and Eddie continues, do you think that when the Pope got shot, he said motherfucker? I think he did.
That reminds me of a that just popped into my head on MASH, which I haven't seen in a long time. There was an episode where they had an author on writing about war, and he didn't have the idea for his book yet, but he had the title. And You Never Hear the Bullet was the title, I think it was. And then later on, of course, he comes into the MASH unit as a patient because he got caught. Like, he was just an author. I don't even remember if he was a soldier. He may have been like an author soldier, and he's coming in, and like Hawkeye, it's always the shock in MASH where you're introduced to the character in the first act. Then in the third act, you see him come in all shot up and maybe die. I don't remember if he dies or not, but he's talking to Hawkeye like on his way into the operating table. And he's like, and you know what? I heard the bullet. I heard the bullet that hit me. I didn't think that was going to happen. I'll have to watch MASH again. I haven't seen MASH in a long, long time. Have you guys watched MASH?
Nope.
Oh, I was a kid, it was on a lot. My dad enjoyed watching it, so that was one of those kind of, MASH is coming on. It's time to go to bed kind of a thing. And then it was on reruns all the time, so that became kind of like a staple rerun show. You were always, I don't want to say safe, but it was like Channel you always 5. Knew you go to get a laugh, so you could put it on, and there was always something entertaining on it. Once in a while, you'll get a comic book would appear because Radar collected and read comics.
The wrong era comic book,
completely. Once in a
Radar
while, you
O'Reilly
see Larry
with an issue of Avengers in 1951 or whatever it was supposed to be.
And then Larry Hama would show up.
That's right. Larry Hama was in. I remember seeing that and going, huh? That's the same name as the guy who was in the comic book. Because what's funny is MASH was, at the time, most of MASH was on. My bedtime was 9:00. But MASH was the one show our parents would let us stay up to watch till 9:30.
Yep.
So that was our one show we could stay up for.
And they also made action figures for them, and I did have the play set.
Yeah. MASH
but
ran
not many of the
longer than the
figures.
war was portrayed, says 62 Lefty
Yep.
Blues. Yeah. The classic episode is when you saw the whole show through the patient's eyes. Oh, yeah, that was a good one, Splash Page. Yeah, I remember that now. 62 Lefty Blues. I read all the books. They were hilarious, but the show is nothing like it. Yeah, I never read the books. I never saw the movie till later on because those were the days, you couldn't really, see a movie on demand. So I knew the movie existed, but never saw the MASH movie till way later.
Yeah, I saw it on like HBO at some point when it came on.
See, another comic book I bought was The Sire, issue number 4. And this is the crossover with Mariano Nicieza's character in the War of the Independence. So it's The Sire and Phaser. And what's weird is there's a lot of, I don't know where there's a lot of static electricity in this book that still hasn't dissipated. Like when I opened it up, I was like, whoa, this is tough to open. There's static electricity. And there's still a little static Look, I'm trying to open it. I don't know if you can hear that. But there's like, nope, no static there. But it's not like the ink sticking, it's static electricity. And I'm like, that's strange. I've never had a book.
The phaser character can go through space and time, so that's an enhanced comic book with static electricity.
There we go. But I have to say that, hold on, let me see. I don't know if the mic picked that up, but there was static on that page. But I have to say, this is the one with a new artist. He named Sousserpa, Sousserpa. And it read much better than it looked on first glance. Because in looking through it, because I glanced through it at first just to see what his art looked like. And his art does look a little amateurish. But when I read it, his storytelling made me appreciate the art a lot more. And it was like with his storytelling, it was pretty good. And I saw all the good things because that's what happens sometimes. And I think that happens with Rob Liefeld, even though I don't necessarily see the good things, is when I look at Rob Liefeld, I immediately see the bad stuff he does. And that's kind of what I get caught up in. So I can't appreciate the good stuff he does. This guy's storytelling was good enough that I was appreciating the good stuff he was doing. So in the end, I have to say I liked it a lot better reading it than when I first looked through it. And it's a fun story. And I just like the fact that Mike Dolce is getting some comics out. Wilson and I both know him from around the comic scene. So just the fact that he's getting some comics out is I want to support him. I can spend money on his stuff. It's always good to support people you actually know. Let's see here was a weird one. Creepshow, Joe Hill's Wolverton Station. Michael Walsh on the art, who's the guy who did Silver Coin. So the artwork is terrific. I like his art. I never really knew his stuff before the Silver Coin, but I think he's done stuff for Marvel and DC. I don't remember what. But once again, and this is a full-length story. Most of the, it's a one-shot. Most of the Creepshow stuff has been like there've been 2 volumes of it. First volume at 6 issues, second volume at 5 issues, plus a Christmas special. And they all had 2 stories in them. This is all one big story. But I'm not sure there's a story here. I enjoyed it, but I don't know if I can call it a story because it starts out with there's this guy, there's our horror host right there. And there's this guy right here who's a rich horror collector, and he's a jerk. They establish that he's a rich jerk who likes to rip off unknowing people who have expensive horror memorabilia that they don't know is expensive. So the first 3 pages are dedicated to his collection and him ripping off people. And anytime, it's funny, anytime during the story where you may have sympathy for him, they give you a scene where he's just an asshole. And you're like, oh, there goes all my sympathy for him. So that was really a little weird thing to do. But the reason you have sympathy for him is because a friend of his in England, he's in the USA, says, I got this great horror thing for you, but you have to come over here to England to get it. He's like, screw you. I don't know. He's like, all right, I'm coming to England to get it. And he gets to England, and there's a transportation strike on, so he can't get a driver. So he has to get the train. And there are just werewolves in England, dressed up, doing everyday things with no explanation. So this is the first time he just bumps into a werewolf who's just walking in the street, and he's a jerk to the werewolf. And then he gets on the train, and there's just werewolves on the train hanging out. And he's in first class, and the guy sitting next to him in first class is a werewolf, and he's just talking to him like he's not a werewolf, like he's just some other guy on the train. And then there's some guys on the back of and then there's some werewolves in the back of the train who are high-spirited youths who are so high-spirited that they end up, killing and eating a woman. So this guy has to run back to there's the high-spirited, and like no mention is made of them being werewolves. They're just werewolves killing people, and everybody. And then he goes back to first class and it's like, oh, they're not allowed to kill the people in the first class. So he's finally like, I gotta get off this train. And he's like, so he gets off the train, and the werewolves follow him off the train. And they're like, hi, we're going to eat you now. And he's like, I'm out of here. So he finally finds a cab. And he's a complete jerk to the werewolves who are trying to eat him. So he's talking to the cab driver, and he's being a complete jerk to the cab driver until, of course, we find out the cab driver is a werewolf, too. And eventually they eat him. It's just like, is that really a story? They explained nothing. We don't know why there are werewolves in London. We don't know why nobody seems to mention that these werewolves are werewolves. We don't know why they decide to finally eat this guy and not another guy. It's just so weird. But the Michael Walsh art and storytelling is terrific. But I gotta wonder if that's actually a story. Because it didn't seem to be. Or at least not a story that made sense. Werewolves.
That is wild.
That was a strange one.
I mean, it makes sense there are werewolves in London because the song told us that.
Yeah, the song told us there were werewolves in London.
But to be so nonchalant about it, and then...
But it didn't tell us they were eating everybody on trains.
Right.
And like the ticket taker, or the conductor was a werewolf, but he wasn't eating anybody. The guy in first class with him was a werewolf. He wasn't eating anybody. It was those darn teenage werewolves who were ruffians, obviously, going around eating people.
Maybe the story was, don't be a jerk. If you're a jerk, werewolves will eat you.
That is the message of the story. But it's a little heavy-handed. And a little strange. because the werewolves could have eaten him right away, and the werewolves could have easily eaten him in 8 pages, and we would have gotten the same message across. It was a strange one, but I do enjoy those Creepshow ones, and I especially like the covers. And there's a million covers to them, but I do enjoy the covers on them. And let's see. Petrol Head is another book I got. This is the book where everybody looks like it's made out of candy. Just the artwork is pretty, and everybody, oh, there's the holograms. Of course he looks like he's made out of candy. But even the robots, where's our robots? Even our robots look like they're made out of candy. Our robot bird looks like it's made out of candy. This is the story of retired robot sci-fi. I guess you'd call it, at least it's a sci-fi setting. Story of retired robot race car drivers who one of them now has to drive his car to try to get out of the city to save this little girl who's got some scientific breakthrough that's going to save humanity from the smog that somehow the powers that be don't want to let loose. I don't know. But it's fun, and it's well done, and it's very, very pretty.
No, I can't buy the idea that the robot was the race car driver.
All the robots were race car drivers. This should be up Paulo's alley, but he won't accept it.
No.
He refuses to believe a robot can drive.
Oh, 62 Lefty Blues says Werewolf of London was a 1935 movie. Maybe it was referencing. Maybe. I only know the song by Warren Zevon, which makes you howl along with it. Ow! Werewolves of London. Ow! I saw a werewolf with a Chinese menu in his hand. His hair was perfect. I always like that song because you get to howl along with it.
Yeah. Only ever hear it during Halloween, but it's not really a Halloween song.
No. I have that one on one of my playlists. It doesn't need to
be a Halloween song. Yeah.
On one of my playlists. And one of the things I reread this week, I don't know how long it's been since I've had this out. The Art of Mobius, the Byron Price epic, Marvel Epic Comics joint. The internationally acclaimed fantasy artist, the Byron Price editor, introduction by George Lucas. It came out in 1989, did it say? I probably got this from when I was at Marvel. Copyright 1989. They're selling a 1991 calendar. It's and Alex J was the art director. He's a guy I know from his blog, was a letterer, and he does a blog about the history of comic book lettering. And I know he's been a designer too, as well as lettering. But I actually, Robin Brosterman is the designer. Alex J is the art director. I guess he art directed at Byron Price, who I never knew was a guy. Like, I always knew Byron Price Publishing when I was a kid, but it never struck me that was his name. That's the name of a guy, and he named his publishing house after himself. But Epic actually published it. And it really should be called Some Art of Mobius, not The Art of Mobius, because Mobius is so prolific that this is probably a 64-page volume. There's no page numbers on it. And it's got, here, I'll show you some of the pages. It's got various Mobius illustrations. Well, I can hear the binding cracking as I open it because it's a glued binding from 1989. Jimi Hendrix, Are You Experienced? And I have to say, the coolest thing about it was Mobius is actually writing the captions for it. So you get his thoughts. Like, I can't even remember if I actually read this back in the 90s or just flipped through it. Oh, there's a good. Like he says, like, Futura 1983, Mobius. I did this drawing as an illustration for a lecture by one of my friends about spirituality. I wanted to convey a feeling of energy, vibration, while remaining in my own style. It was really one of my very early tries in that direction, and it opened up new vistas for me. A copy of Mobius's black and white inked drawing, top, was then colored, bottom, and photomechanically combined with the black and white ink drawing to produce the finished art. So he shows you, this was created by blue line painting. So there's the color on the bottom, the black and white on top, and then process was called blue lining before the digital world, where they'd then take a picture of the black line and a picture of the color and strip in the black line over the color. So that was how they used to do stuff like that before computer stuff. And he just gives you his thought process into what went on with some of these. And he's like, I like this one. I don't like this one. This one I didn't quite succeed on, but I kind of liked the way it came out. So it's good stuff. Like, here's one where, like he said, and you can see what he says sometimes where'd it go? He's like, here's one that I kind of like the coloring on, but I abandoned it because the shoulder was way too big. But it's like, but I liked the light I got on it. So he shows you stuff like that. And here's a neat one that's got it's just before it. Where'd it go? Where it gives you a couple of self-portraits at different ages. Where'd they go? Oh, and there's the one with it was right before. There we go. Here we got 3 different Mobius self-portraits at 3 different ages, and that one was made to be an Underground Comics one down the bottom. And there he is, younger with his shirt off after having just lost some weight in Los Angeles, and there he is, older. So that was interesting too. And then it ended with, I think he said this was printed in a book. And he mentions he does surrealist automatic drawing with some of his stuff too, which is something I've talked about before, which is where you try to clear your mind and draw without thinking about it. So someone gave him this little sketchbook, which he was going to give as a present, but then he ended up drawing in it himself. All these little surrealist automatic drawings that they printed in a book eventually. What did he say its name was? Drawings were recently published in a small limited edition book. It didn't tell. Roma Armor, ROMA-AMOR. I don't know what either of those words mean, since it's not a Moor. And he also, I never knew this, did what he called non-figurative work. This is stuff he'd just do for himself. Or he'd just sort of free draw and do non-figurative stuff. So I really enjoyed learning more about Mobius from his own words written in this one. Or is it? Oh, that book is $140 up on eBay. Yeah, I know a lot of this Mobius stuff this epic Mobius stuff is pricey now. Yeah, that's an expensive book. Hard to find one for under $100. I always like that beautiful and enchanting cover. Yeah, it's a great cover. And I think my other favorite piece was this other famous one he did in here. I just saw it. I actually have a video up on all my Mobius books that I did a few years ago. That one right there. I think I may have had a poster of this at one time, or somebody I knew did. I can't remember, but I always liked this one. Good stuff. And hearing, there's a lot of surrealism. There's more surrealism in Mobius's work consciously than I thought there was. just because I was never sure. I never read much by him, and in this, he really talks more about it. But good, very, very good book to read. I enjoyed reading that one. You know, not much to read in it since it's mostly, you know, little descriptions and captions. But I said, let me pull some Mobius off my shelf that I haven't seen in years. And The Art of Mobius was it. As Gore say, I think Comics Journal used that picture on a cover. Maybe I had that. It could have been. But yeah, that one I'm familiar with. I know that one well, that picture, though. And though I don't remember, I haven't seen it in so long. I was looking at it again, and I where'd it go? This is what took me by surprise looking at it again. I forgot about this. There's like a little guy down at the bottom of the desk looking at him. Looking at her, I should say. So it's like, changes the whole scale. Is she really big or is he really small? I'd forgotten about that. But that's a pretty cool little bit. And it looks like this must have been lying around Marvel because it's pretty dinged up. And I think a lot of the Mobius stuff I got at Marvel had been sitting around for years, and someone got rid of it from their office. And I was like, oh, I'll take that. Whenever I'd see one of these Mobius epic things, I'd be, oh, I'll take that. I'll take that. Because I didn't take a lot of comics from Marvel because it was flooded with Marvel and DC comics mostly. And that's not what I was really into. But Mobius, of course I grabbed. And Marie used to specifically come out and give this when she would get Mobius stuff in, because she was the epic editor at one time. I don't think for this one, because this was Byron Price. I don't know who's yet. She would come out and specifically give the stuff to the bullpen because it wasn't always in our bundles, even when we got everything in our bundles. And like I know she specifically gave me and other bullpenners who she knew appreciated Mobius. She knew Mobius's agent because Mobius's agent, of course, is who used to deal with Marvel, and Marie was often the person he dealt with, and occasionally he would come in and give her stuff to give out. Like I have a Mobius signed print because Mobius's agent came in and said, here's some signed prints for you, give them out. And so she'd come out to the bullpen and give out signed prints. That's what was good about Marie. She always came out to the bullpen to give away the art stuff. Often editors would only give each other stuff and never give anything to the bullpen. Marie always went out to the bullpen to give us stuff. Even though none of us wanted those last issues of Akira. Should have taken them. Should have taken them. No one had any interest. But I can still picture her in my mind coming out with a stack of the last issue of Akira, which came out. He's like, who wants this last issue of Akira? Everybody was like, there's like crickets. Like maybe a couple of people took them. She's like, oh, well, and brought them back to her office. Now those go for like $50, $60 or something. Because nobody was interested in them. I've got bootleg versions, scans of them. That's all. And of course, the last
I used to have stats for Akira, but I don't know if I ever brought them home from the office. I don't recall seeing them afterwards.
It was
actually too.
During when I said I had no work and sold a bunch of comics. That's when I sold my Akiras. I didn't have the last few issues. I had like the issues everybody else had, but still I sold them for. I think they ended up in France. Maybe those ones sold them for $150. Which isn't a ton. It was like $3-4 an issue. 33 issues or something I had. So maybe $3-4. It adds up to a lot, but taken individually, it was only like $3 or $4 an issue, which I pay for new comics, so I don't consider that a lot. But yeah, it moved though because I was like, what am I never going to look at again? And I hadn't looked at Akira in 20 years, and I had no plans to look at it again. And those, once again, these square-bound stuff from the 80s, when you open it up, it cracks. It's kind of like, ooh. So I'm sure those issues of Akira, though they were all in good shape, opening and reading them was going to be a delicate matter. So that's when I was like, oh, well, I'll just find some scans of it online, which is what matter of fact, I read about, I think I got 3 issues in before I got bored. On my commute, I read some of the digital stuff, my scans of it, read about 3 issues and was like, oh, right, that's enough. I don't have to read any more Akira. I do that sometimes when I'm if I had it physically, like in a volume, I might be more like sitting, I might read it. But digitally, I'm kind of like, I'm not as interested in reading digitally as I am physically, though I do read some stuff digitally.
And I may have mentioned it before, but I have the Japanese version of the Akira books that Marvel used as references.
Right.
So I have those still with like the little flag tags. I don't know if there's notes in them. I'm going to check to see if Marie put any notes in them. But I have a whole set of them because it was like they were tossing them out.
Yeah. I've had on my pull list, on my wish list on Amazon for the last couple of years. The I don't know who put it out, the latest volume of Akira, all printed the Japanese way, but in English. Matter of fact, I think Tim Howlermouse got a copy of it last year. It runs about $100, $125, so I've never actually bought it. But I have it on my wish list just in case it ever drops down to really cheap. But if it doesn't, I don't need it. And it's in black and white also.
I think those might have been from Kodasha Random House.
Yeah, okay.
I would have printed those. Yeah.
It's a printing from the last few years, so. Because didn't Dark Horse?
They were the last ones to do them.
Didn't
Dark Horse pick them up after Marvel?
Did they print in like a 6x9 size?
Yeah, they went through different formats.
Right. They had them like the Japanese way in a 6x9 size, I think. In like 6 or 8 volumes or something like that. I can't remember. In black and white also. I think Marvel was the only time it was published in color.
I think so.
Unless Paulo knows of a Brazilian version.
No, we did have a color version like the Epic version in Portugal. Took them a while to complete, because the publisher went out of business as well. And it was US sized and everything. I think we got the rights package from Germany. I'm not sure, because it came with a Byron Press book to be published. The Harvey Kurtzman's Strange Adventures.
Huh. It's funny. I just got to use my insider Akira knowledge when there's some guy in TikTok who does videos about Marvel Comics, obscure characters, this guy, the history of that guy, sort of thing. He does a pretty good job with them. And he did one on Street Poet Ray, which of course everybody is always fascinated. So I got to leave a little message that, said the reason Marvel published Street Poet Ray is because the same agent who brought them Akira brought them Street Poet Ray.
All connected.
Yep. Sometimes you get a good one. Sometimes you get a bad one. Ooh, my final order cutoff has come in from my list of comics shipping and my final order cutoff. So after the show, I'll be going through the final order cutoff to see if there's anything I want to order for 6 weeks from now or 5 weeks from now. Good stuff. And of course, the last comic I got this week, I always look forward to it. I really do. I have a fun time going through final, because all I have to do is click on a link to order it.
Right.
So it makes it so easy, and I get it. Like it's so easy. It's just makes it so easy and fun to do. Like, I think final order cutoff is usually like Sunday night or something like that. So all weekend I can just kind of look at it, pull it, go. If I want to know, I click on a link and it brings me to a little description and picture of it. Can order whichever cover I want. So it's I find it fun to go through, and that's how I ended up with. And then sometimes, 6 weeks later, I find myself with Dracula After Man, going, I wonder what I found interesting about this.
You will have lost the poetry in your soul again.
Yeah. Over those 5 weeks, the poetry left. But like I said, this was if it wasn't $5, I'd add it to my pull list. Now maybe I'll look for the trade. Usagi Yojimbo. This is Ice and Snow, Part 5 of 5, or issue 274. Usagi Yojimbo 274. And the story actually ended last issue, but they barely escaped with their lives, Usagi and his cousin, from Jay, the demon thing that was hunting them. So then they managed to find their way to this little village, and where they can get some. This is how bad a shape they were in. But of course, the little village ends up not being as it seems. So that's the story in Usagi.
It was not as it seems. Is it vampires?
Nope. It's werecats.
Oh.
Let's see, what is it? What is their names? They give us a name. Nekomata. Nekomata. So that's what they are. I'm sure they're in Japanese mythology somewhere. Demon cats who can transform into human form. Oh, there I can see. This cat has multiple tails, and that's what they have in. What's that one by the two Japanese creators that I buy? Holy cow, the name of it just flew out of my head. That I've been buying it for 57 freaking issues. That high fantasy story. Asana Takeda. Holy cow. But they have cats in there with multiple tails in them. So like the different cat. And it's weird to see a cat drawn with 3 or 4. Monstrous. There we go. Thank you, 62 Lefty Blues. You know what was funny? When I was doing my video showing off which one was it? I was doing my video showing the one by Mike Walsh. Where was it? It was just here. Not the Deviant, not our Creep Show. I couldn't remember the name of Silver Coin. As I'm like, yeah, silver, and then I usually listen to I check my videos for quality. I listen to them once before I post them, and I'm listening to myself go silver again. I'm like silver. I'm yelling at myself as if it's someone else's video. Going silver coin. It's silver coin. Like you yell at a video you're watching when somebody can't remember. Like 62 Lefty Blues, who I think commented silver coin on that one. They're just yelling at myself the name, which I now remember. So that was a funny moment as I proofed my video.
So that those cards that I showed earlier today.
Yep.
In those packs, I also have some mini comics that this is before trade paperbacks. This is how I end up reading a lot of old stories.
Yeah.
I don't know if
Oh yeah,
if you ever got these.
that's how I first read the Steve Ditko stuff. Is that
Yeah,
that? Is that?
exactly.
What volume? Yeah, I have volumes 1, 2, and 3 still on my shelf.
And I also had these. I also had an X-Men one run as well.
Right.
Although the X-Men one, I want to say they were in black and white, and I think I also had Star Wars this way.
There were some that were in
Then,
black and white where they cut up the panels,
yeah, because the
rearranged
Spider-Man
them.
one, the panels are definitely rearranged.
No, the panels aren't rearranged. They put more
They're not?
space between the panels.
Oh, okay, yeah.
It's still page for page the same, but they put more space between the panels.
Oh, okay. So I
That's what
thought
they
they
did.
rearranged it. Or
No, they
maybe
didn't
the Star
rearrange
Wars
anything.
ones I'm thinking about was rearranged.
Yes.
Because the
I think
Star
the
Wars were printed
X-Men,
in those big books.
right. I have a Hulk like that that's got 1 through 6 of Hulk. And I think I have a Fantastic Four with 1 through 6 of Fantastic Four. Amazing Spider-Man versus the Prodigy. I don't think I've ever seen that one.
This was made, if I remember correctly, for Planned Parenthood.
Ah. Okay.
I don't remember the story. I think it had to do with kids being kidnapped and what have you. But this appeared in a regular comic book as well. So
You know
it's
what's
just like
funny?
oddities that I've found over the years. But I remember getting this as a kid.
I also still have my collection from the early 80s of DC Digests. Oh, I don't think I've seen that one.
So these came in a set. I don't know if it was just a set of
Ah.
4 or a set of 3, because I have 3 here. So I have Spider-Man,
Mm-hmm.
X-Men, and Alf.
Ah, Alf.
So the back of the book, you had subscription orders. And I don't know if these were given away for Halloween, what they were made for. But I just remember seeing these somewhere well, let me see if I have the date on this. I mean, of course it has the date. I just don't know
Right.
how, because I got to put on the glasses for these.
Oh, yeah.
Because how tiny the indicia is.
You know what's funny?
So this,
I can remember being a kid and reading those, and the small size didn't bother me in the least. And
not at all.
sometimes adults would be like, "Oh my goodness, how can you read that tiny thing?" I'd be they're like, "Oh, those young eyes," and I'd be like, "Really?" And
It's
now it's like
1988.
I can barely look at them that small. I look at I've looked at mine over the years and I'm like, wow, I used to read these.
Exactly.
Blast
So there's a
Star, the Living Bomb
maze,
Burst.
little maze there. And I don't know what these were given away at, because there's no prices on it. So I know these were giveaways, but I don't know if
Mhm.
these were given away at the comic book shop,
Yeah.
or I want to say these came in a 4-pack.
Ah.
These Marvel Comics Presents. I'm almost sure these came together in a 4-pack. I don't remember what the fourth one would have been for, but they had to be part of a giveaway. They might have been with newspapers. Now that I think about it, but it's so hard to remember because they did so many of these types of promos and stuff like that.
Wow. Lots of small stuff.
Yep.
Yeah, like I said, I loved that. That's the first time I got to read Ditko Spider-Man was in those pocket books. Because
Yeah.
like there were no trade paperbacks. There were no collections.
Yeah, and at the
That was
time when
it.
I started, Marvel Tales were during the Ramita era. And just as it got to the death of Gwen Stacy, they rebooted, restarted, and it's like, oh, I never really got to read the death of Gwen Stacy the first time around with Marvel Tales or something like that. How it was going the direction. So I think This would be, I'm almost positive this was my first Ditko run, and then I got to
Right.
read them in the Marvel Tales.
The first time I got to read Mike Grell's Warlord was in one of those DC digests where they put out the Demos saga in one of those digests in the early 80s. Because most of the digests were reprints. They continued Adventure Comics in the digest thing. And they had I used to like getting the best of DC Comics they put out in a digest every year because I didn't buy DC Comics much, but I liked the digests. And I always wanted to check. And I don't think Warlord was on any of my local newsstands because I knew of it from ads. And I liked the Mike Grell art I saw in the ads, but I never saw the comic until that digest. And I was like, cool.
I saw more ads for it than the book. Yeah, I saw more ads for Warlord.
What was that?
And I think they also had a toy line. I saw more ads for Warlord, but never actually seen the comic book itself.
Right. You're right. I think I remember seeing the ads for the toy line because that was the late 70s. It even was the toy line.
Yeah.
Wasn't it?
I think so. Very late 70s, early 80s. I think it was Remco. I'm not positive, but I think that was about the time period.
Yeah.
The fourth book was Captain America. I now remember the fourth book was Captain America, and it was the cover where it said Captain America for President. That was the fourth book.
Exactly. I had the Fireside books, all of those, and I had those all those digests. I didn't see many of the. I think I only had one of the black and white ones that had all the panels cut up in them.
Yeah, I remember. I think
people
X-Men was in black and
about
white.
them over the years, but I never saw them.
And I think that's where I first read the whole Giant Size X-Men #1 reprinted. Because when they reprinted those as a regular stuff, they didn't have the backups. And I remember I read the backup story somewhere, and I think the backup story was printed in these smaller ones.
I may have had that Giant Size X-Men one, but I got it kind of later. I may have gotten that in the early 80s, not the late 70s with the other ones. A little bit. But it was fun.
I got these in the 80s, back issue rack type of thing.
Yeah. It wasn't until one of the most recent facsimile edition of Giant Size X-Men 1 that I read that backup story. Because I had forgotten that there was a backup story in Giant Size X-Men 1 because I never got Giant Size X-Men 1, but I've had reprints of it over the years. But I don't think until the facsimile, I don't think any of the reprints I had printed the backup story, or at least most of them didn't.
Right.
Because I had forgotten about it.
Because it's I remember reading the backup story somewhere, and it's but why isn't it in? And when I would go through Giant Size X-Men #1 reprints, because I had about 2 of them, and it's I know there was more to this story, but I can't remember where I read it, and it turned out to be in the small books.
Yeah. The backup. I sold my X-Men 94 through 102 or something like that, too.
The Neil Adams years?
No, that was the first new X-Men. Issue 94 was the first one after Giant Size X-Men 1, which I never had. But I hadn't read them in 30 years.
Right.
So, at least I didn't trade them for a monitor. That's what my friend Rob did in I think he said it was the early 90s. He traded his he traded his Burn X-Men, he said, for a computer monitor. And he's like, where is that computer monitor now? Who knows? In some landfill somewhere. It's I never should have made that trade. But he didn't know computer monitors would be changing so much over the next, how many years. And they'd become virtually worthless. You can get a 27-inch flat screen computer monitor for $159 or something.
Yeah, it's just I go back thinking about my first Mac at home. It had that huge because I had a G4 Mac, and
Uh-huh.
then the monitor was just that big cathode ray tube,
Oh yeah.
big ass behind it. It was huge, and
Yeah.
every time I had to move it, that was just like backbreaking.
Do you know how much I dropped on my first 1995? And I didn't eat. That was the time they had Mac clones. For a very brief period, they let Power Computing build Macs, which were slightly cheaper than actual Macs. It was right before Steve Jobs came back and put an end to that. And they were good machines too, because Apple ended up using the architecture in them for their G3s, I think. But I think I got a Power Computing Mac clone plus whatever other I needed a SideQuest drive. I don't think I got a printer and a scanner right away. I may have waited a little, but I dropped on the stuff I needed. I dropped $5,000. That's how much it cost in 1995 for me to get set up digitally. It's like, whoa.
Yeah, I got in the G4 Mac, the tower,
Right.
and the monitor, power cords. I didn't get the scanner yet or a printer, and the way I got the money from that is I was able to borrow something from Marvel. I was able to
Ah,
get it was able because of being an employee, I
they would
was
give you
able
a
to get
loan to buy it.
a loan. Yeah, I was able to get a loan to get it, and then the loan was paid back through. I don't know if it was through my 401k or something like that, or if it came out of my. I think it came out of my paycheck.
Right, so you
So
wouldn't
it's
have
like
to
I took some sort
see
of
it.
yeah. So I took either it was a loan from my paycheck or an advance to my pay.
Huh.
And so every month, every pay period, a certain amount was taken out. So it's basically they gave me a check for like $5,000, and I think I got it from Mac Ball, and basically ordered everything at that time. And then later on, the rest of the studio was paid for through doing manga for Central Park Media. So that's how I got my
Huh.
scanner, my brother's computer, and I was basically like 3 months of manga paid for like my whole studio at the time. And
We're going to
it
end with
was
a Rip Reader slab and a
let's do
relatively
it.
new one.
Ooh, okay.
This is going to be 2006, March, DC Comics. Stuff I haven't read at all and know nothing about. There we go.
Hawk Girl.
Hawk Girl
JLA.
50, JLA Classified 19, Teen Titans 33. I've read none of them. I hardly know. This is an era I know nothing about in DC Comics because it's pre New 52. Oh, Final
I
Crisis is in Teen Titans.
I
Those are
may have
some
gotten them.
butt ugly covers.
Maybe.
Yeah,
Think Hawk Girl is shaken?
that looks like Chaykin to me. That cover as I opened it.
I would have probably in the Teen Titans. And JLA Classified? No. Uh hmm. I would
Yeah,
read Titans.
I think it's the dark coloring on these covers
Yeah.
really takes away. I would
I
say
would
this is before this is still the era. We're just coming out of the era where computer coloring was getting more sophisticated. We're still in the less sophisticated era. 62 Lefty Blues says read Teen Titans, slab JLA, Classified, and rip Hawk Girl.
I agree with 62 Lefty Blues. Because I know with Teen Titans, I would enjoy reading it.
I
JLA would get
I
slabbed.
read some Teen Titans about 2 years after that when I was looking for some good books, and it was a pretty good book. Let's see what we got. Some more. Sleepy's going to rip the Titans, read JLA Classified, and slab Hawk Girl. And Tit Goblins, bloody hell, I hate all those. Slab That's what I picked ones we'd all hate. That's the theme of this. Slab Hall, Reed Titan, Hawk Girl, Rip Jeans Dolphin Battle Axe. Dolphin the battle. He's gonna dolphin the bat. I see Wonder Woman's gonna have a dolphin in her hand. And he's ripping up the jeans era of Teen Titans. Aha.
I would replace Superboy with the dolphin and give the dolphin the blue jeans.
With torn at the knee, even though the dolphin has no knees.
Yeah. And I would have the flamingos on that JLA classified cover because there needs to be a witness to that
Where would they
hypothetical
be?
war. I would probably put them like hanging out on her battle axe.
Okay, that's what I was thinking too. I think I'm going to slab Hawk Girl just because it's a Howard Chaykin cover. And that's the only, like Tit Goblin said, I hate all these. And that at least gives me a reason to slab it.
Chaykin with the lens flare. 1, 2, 3. I can spot about 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, maybe 9 lens flares.
No, I don't think those are lens flares. Those are pin lights.
Pin lights, okay.
Pin lights. When you get a highlight like that, it's usually in photography. You need a pin light for that. It doesn't.
Okay.
Oh, look here. JLA is apparently drawn by Garcia Lopez, so maybe the insides will look nice if the color doesn't destroy. Yeah, that's. I was going to read that JLA only because once again, the Teen Titans cover looks symmetrical, so I kind of want to see if I can rip it right down the middle. I think I can. I think I can rip it right down in between the Teen and the Titans, and then I'm going to try to rip it right down between their forearms, and then right down into the V that their legs make. I think I can rip it right in half like that. That'd be a fun challenge. The Hawk Girl looks like someone did horrible Corbin airbrush. Yeah, Corbin didn't use quite like that, but he was much better at it. Well, let's see. I'm gonna put a flamingo on each one of Hawk Girl's arms. They're gonna be standing on Hawk Girl's arms, looking at each other. And I guess I may as well, turn Wonder Woman into a dolphin. So it'll be a dolphin with a shield and battle axe leaping into action. Don't ask me how he's going to hold the shield and battle axe. Maybe he'll need some special mechanical arms or some such. But man, those are some terrible covers. This is an era I know almost nothing about DC. I mean, of course, there's a whole 25-year period where I almost know nothing about DC, but occasionally I would pay a little attention to what was going on. None of this looks familiar to me. How about you guys? Did you read anything from this era, Paulo?
Yes.
What'd you read?
Quite a few stuff that was team based.
Yeah.
So this Hawk Girl is from the new JSA series by Jeff Johns.
Okay.
She's Kendra Saunders, and she's a bit crazier than Shayera was.
Was this the era of the reincarnations?
Yeah, they brought back the reincarnations.
Okay, I may have actually picked up all 3 of those books, but because I do recall reading Teen Titans at that time, because I was still going. It was right before the comic shop closed up. So I was still reading because I left Marvel in 2004, so I wasn't getting the books for free. So I was starting at this point to get really picky on what I was buying. But I was picking up. I'm almost sure I was picking up JLA and Teen Titans at the time. I could have picked up the Hawk Girl as well.
Anyone read Infinite Crisis? Which crossover was that? Which Crisis was that? Anybody know?
That's Final Crisis.
Is that Final Crisis, not Infinite?
Mm,
Okay,
No, it
anybody
is
read
no,
Final
no,
Crisis?
no. It is Infinite Crisis. Yeah, it is.
Yeah, it's so small I can barely tell.
Yeah.
I don't remember which one that was. Was that the
And that's
death of
Infinite
Debbie?
Crisis Countdown. Colors are the enemy of comics in a lot of cases. All right, well, we should wrap it up for the week.
We had gotten a new tool and we try to use every filter.
Yep. We should let Paulo get to bed.
Yep.
Yep. And I'm going to continue working on some coloring because that's what I was doing tonight.
Is it? Oh my God! It's another crisis. Are you going on TikTok tonight, Wilson?
I haven't decided. Just because I'm doing an
Gotta do some
interview
coloring?
tomorrow morning at 10,
Ah,
and so I'm doing some coloring. So I'm going to be coloring late. So I want to kind of like concentrate. I've done
yeah.
TikToks while I was doing work, but it's just one of those things. It's like how entertaining is just me just standing there drawing when you can't
Sleepy
see my
wants to know
screen.
what you're coloring. What's due tomorrow morning?
I am
Dude,
coloring a few pages for our buddy Fred Haynes. I don't know the name
Okay.
of the book because it's actually just initials, and so he has asked me to color. So every few weeks I get like 3 or 4 pages to color, and so he's working on, I guess, a novel or graphic novel, but I don't know who it's
Is it
actually
his
for.
The Hero of Rockaway?
It's no, it's not
Okay.
that stuff. So it's
Okay.
something else entirely different. So just working on that.
Yeah. So look up Fred Haynes and the Hero of Rockaway, Thor. That's his web comic that's been going on for a while. It's pretty cool.
Yeah.
You guys want to check that out. All right. So everybody have a good week out. Here, we'll give you some hearts. See, come on. There we go.
There you go.
There's some hearts. Some hearts and some balloons. Get some balloons going. Come on. There we go.
There you go.
And you guys have a good week out there.
Bye-bye.
Have a great night. Thanks for the fun show, says Sleepy Reader. Glad you were here with us. Have a good time.
Happy 3-day
Comic Craft.
weekend
We'll
for
catch you
whoever
later.
gets Monday off.
Not me. I'll be teaching Monday. So you guys have a good week, and we'll catch you next
Freelancer.
time.